This apocalypse has arrived, leaving nothing but ruins, and our lone mage stands as the final defense, wondering how a simple video game became a real-life nightmare, while his fallen allies lie scattered across the battlefield. Still, he forces his trembling legs to stand up, facing down a massive skeletal boss with zero backup. But instead of running away like a sensible person, he decides to go out in a blaze of glory, channeling every ounce of his magic into one final strike. Refusing to accept defeat as the blinding light consumes him, waking up screaming in the middle of a classroom, instantly earning him the stares of his confused classmates while his furious teacher immediately starts berating him. But the kid is too shocked to care, realizing he just regressed 10 years into the past. Checking his pocket, he finds a familiar golden ring, confirming his cheat item actually traveled back with him, though the angry teacher interrupts his thoughts by grabbing him, prompting our hero to drop his polite act, exposing the man as a future coward and traitor. Our hero walks away from his screaming teacher, leaving his classmates completely stunned by his reckless confidence, since the virtual reality game apocalypse has taken over the world, turning virtual loot into massive real-world wealth, with even world governments trading valuable in-game resources, making some people rich while others lose everything. Yet nobody realized the true danger lurking behind the screens, until the game's monsters suddenly manifested in the real world, forcing humanity to unite and fight for survival, refusing to back down against impossible odds. Remembering the day the sky went completely dark, our hero wonders if this regression is real, but he chooses to believe in humanity's future, arriving back at his old, empty apartment. He finds a note left by his parents, swearing to protect them from their grim fate. And with the clock ticking toward 11 a.m., he prepares to log in before anyone else, spinning the golden ring on his finger, which suddenly erupts in a blinding blue light. His soul successfully detaches from his physical body, allowing him to log in under his old username, diving straight into the digital stream of the game, where a majestic server guide welcomes him back, confirming he actually managed to log in early when prompted to choose a starting class. Our boy immediately aims for a cheap support role, but the system completely rejects his selection, leaving the guide to suggest checking his status, only to find he is permanently locked as a mage. Our hero rants about mages being a massive money pit before the guide vanishes and leaves him with nothing, forcing him onto his knees in front of an empty inventory. Suddenly, a single skeletal hand catches his eye, revealing a creepy item called the Grim Reaper's Handbone, which comes with a cryptic warning about the abyss, leaving him annoyed by its lack of actual stats, until the system suddenly crowns him the first player online, spawning him into the novice village with a special title, though he immediately complains about how incredibly embarrassing it sounds. Admiring his new title, he celebrates the sweet stat boosts. Before confidently marching off to hunt some low-level wild boars, he immediately launches a fireball at his very first target, only to realize his level 1 spell deals a pathetic 12 damage, forcing him to run for his life from the angry beasts. But his tactical retreat is suddenly interrupted by a desperate cry, as a distressed girl comes running out of the woods, closely pursued by a massive, terrifying wild boar king. Fortunately, this dangerous encounter triggers a lucrative hidden quest, leaving our hero grinning at his incredibly lucky break. This distressed girl leaps into his open arms, but he greets her with a massive slap, leaving her completely floored while the boss watches, as she desperately tries to play innocent. She gasps in shock when he calls her out, casually listing every single one of her dark secrets, prompting her to finally drop the helpless act, with creepy red veins spreading across her skin, revealing her true form as a demonic boss thanks to his handy 10 years of future knowledge. This demonic boss immediately lunges to slice him open, but he cleverly baits the giant boar to charge her instead, forcing the furious demon to face the beast head-on, as the enraged monster charges up a lightning-infused tackle, slamming directly into her with explosive force, which sends her flying back from the devastating impact. Yet she quickly recovers, swearing to kill him next, only for our hero to spot a perfect opening, unleashing his signature fireball spell right at her face, scoring a whopping 36 damage on the boss. This furious demon boss immediately charges after him, but our hero casually kites her with another explosion, leading her on a chaotic chase through the woods, remembering that she gets paralyzed if she leaves the forest. So he halts right at the tree line, confidently baiting her to take one final step, which she does with absolute murderous intent, only to stop inches away from his face, completely frozen by the system's boundary restriction, leaving her wide open for his ultimate magic attack. He rains down a massive firestorm on the helpless demon, engulfing her in a spectacular explosion, which instantly defeats her and reverts her back to her harmless human form as rewards flood in, leaving our hero to bask in a glorious shower of gold coins and a sweet level up, before he crouches over her to claim his hard-earned loot from this incredibly lucrative hidden quest. But a sudden system notification catches his attention, pointing to a strange upgrade in his inventory, revealing that his creepy skeletal handbone actually leveled up right alongside him, though its status screen still lists the mysterious Grim Reaper's hand attribute as completely inactive, prompting our hero to wonder what kind of insane power this legendary skill actually holds, until he sees the ridiculous list of rare materials required just to turn the damn thing on. Deciding to worry about that grind later, he drags his captive along to hunt more novice monsters. This rescued girl offers her sincere gratitude, handing over a rare purple-grade staff and a hair clip, but our boy is secretly just waiting for her demonic side to act up again for more quests, happily admiring his new high-tier weapon while planning to appraise its stats back in town. She begs him to escort her home, immediately triggering a lucrative main quest with sweet rewards. prompting her to cling tightly to his back as he enjoys the game's incredibly realistic physics. Leaving the dangerous green forest behind, the duo makes their way back to the starting village, arriving at the bustling hub where clueless players are still running around doing basic chores, until the girl suddenly spots a familiar face and excitedly calls out to her grandfather, revealing the old village chief himself, who is absolutely overjoyed to see his granddaughter safe. After she praises his heroic deeds, the system officially completes the quest and showers him with rewards. This old village chief tries to introduce himself, but our hero immediately cuts him off to demand the quest, leaving the old man to casually munch on sunflower seeds while our boy grows increasingly annoyed by his stalling, until the chief finally explains that his granddaughter needs zombie blood to cleanse the residual demonic poison. Accepting the quest immediately triggers a system notification, promising sweet gold and a new staff upon completion. Before heading out, the chief advises him to visit the local alchemist to stock up on essential supplies, prompting our hero to track down the alchemy shop while feeling a strange sense of nostalgia. Stepping inside, he is greeted by a gorgeous alchemist who welcomes him with a very teasing smile, leading him to order 28 mana potions while silently crying over how expensive it is to play a mage. This seductive shopkeeper suddenly leans in close, offering a sweet discount if he treats her nicely, leaving our usually confident hero completely flustered and desperately trying to maintain his professional boundaries. Clutching his heavy bag of expensive potions, our boy happily ignores the teasing shopkeeper's parting complaints. But his quiet escape is cut short when he bumps directly into a massive, angry-looking blacksmith, prompting him to quickly flatter the burly man while buying an identification scroll to avoid any trouble. Slipping away to a quiet corner of the forest, he prepares to appraise his mysterious new weapon, since revealing the hidden stats of high-tier gear is always the most thrilling part of the game. He nervously activates the scroll, praying for good stats until the system flashes a successful identification notification. This newly revealed Heavenly Fire staff boasts insane magic damage boosts and a sweet mana regeneration effect, leaving our hero to happily skip toward the zombie area to test out his upgraded firepower. He immediately unleashes a devastating rain of fire, completely incinerating the undead monsters in a spectacular blaze, which leaves him grinning at his incredible damage output while easily collecting his quest items. MC notes he got his upgrade material just in time as the official server launch approaches, and the clock finally strikes midnight, prompting thousands of eager players to log in simultaneously, flooding the novice village with clueless newbies who immediately start getting wrecked by aggressive NPCs. Watching the world chat explode with complaints about missing monsters, our boy casually sets up shop, gloating over the massive mountain of loot he hoarded before anyone else could even log in. He quickly hides his impressive level 4 status to avoid drawing any unwanted attention to himself, hanging up a banner for honest dealings while loudly inviting passing players to check his wares, only for arrogant passersby to mock his stall and call him completely brainless for selling things so early. Our hero just chuckles at their sheer ignorance, knowing those overconfident fools will get absolutely demolished by zombies, until a mysterious customer suddenly approaches his display, catching his eye with a very intriguing presence. A pair of long, elegant legs suddenly stops right in front of our hero's humble shop, drawing the immediate drooling attention of every single desperate player wandering around the novice village. But our boy's eyes widen in absolute shock as he recognizes her legendary player Id, remembering her as one of the future's top 10 mages and a powerful guild commander, leaving him secretly grinning at the golden opportunity to recruit this future powerhouse so early, while she curiously approaches his stall, drawn in by his incredibly boastful advertising banner. She gasps in disbelief at his massive stock of rare zombie blood and high-tier equipment, prompting her to ask for a package deal, only for him to demand a staggering 55,000 gold. When she complains about the ridiculous price, he smugly offers her a very special discount, making a hilariously creepy face as he shamelessly demands a simple touch for 20% off. She immediately recoils in anger, calling him completely shameless for suggesting such a ridiculous deal. But our boy just shrugs casually, telling her she can take it or leave it. This leaves her hesitating as she weighs her guild's desperate need for these rare materials, prompting her to bypass his creepy discount entirely and offer a whopping 100,000 gold. Suddenly, a group of loud, arrogant players arrives, led by a notorious bully named Crazy War God, whom our hero instantly remembers as a toxic guild leader from his very first life. A ruthless player who repeatedly spawn-killed him back then, though things will be different this time. This loudmouth immediately interrupts their trade, claiming that the highest bidder should get the loot, sparking an intense bidding war as he offers 150,000 gold, leaving our hero to happily watch them fight over his overpriced starter zone loot. This female mage realizes she cannot let this golden opportunity slip to her rival, while our hero aggressively pushes her to accept his special discount in exchange for a quick touch, prompting him to completely dismiss the furious guild leader who tries to muscle in on their trade, leaving the angry bully's lackeys to desperately hold him back since they are still inside the safe zone. Though that does not stop the humiliated leader from swearing brutal revenge once they step into the wilderness. With the annoying distractions finally out of the way, the two players finalize their massive transaction, which triggers a system notification confirming the successful trade as she fumes over his shameless bargaining tactics, as our boy smugly watches her walk away while noting how incredibly naive she still is. Although she walks away calling him a total creep, she cannot help but think back to his offer, realizing that his bizarre discount proposal actually made perfect financial sense for her guild's future. Leaning in close, our boy playfully pressures the flustered mage to fulfill her side of the bargain, but when she hesitates, he acts deeply offended and asks if she is really breaking her promise, secretly enjoying how easily he can guilt-trip her into feeling bad for backing out. He casually waves it off as a favor, claiming he just hates her rival guild leader anyway, leaving her to watch him depart while secretly resolving to protect him from any future guild retaliation. After turning in the zombie blood to the seed-munching chief, he immediately gets a new mummy-hunting quest, prompting him to dump all his newly acquired stat points straight into his magic attack power. Our hero cannot help but gloat over how absurdly far ahead of the average player base he is, happily skipping toward the next hunting ground to easily wipe out some high-level enchanted mummies, until a sudden horrifying realization hits him, making him freeze in absolute terror as he remembers something crucial. He suddenly remembers a crucial detail about the village chief, realizing he almost missed a massive hidden deal. Instead of keeping the girl's hairpin for intimacy points, he returns it to the old man for a secret reward. This action immediately triggers a legendary permanent buff, showering our boy in a glorious golden light and boosting his stats. Leaving the jealous newbies begging the chief for their own upgrades, he smugly heads off to conquer the local dungeon. Stepping into the eerie demon swamp, a system warning alerts him that a constant health-draining curse is active. Fortunately, his newly acquired permanent health regeneration completely nullifies the deadly poison, saving him a fortune on potions. Our boy confidently strolls deeper into the foggy woods while other players would have perished in seconds. Suddenly, a terrified duo runs past him, screaming in absolute panic as creepy mummies chase them down. Before the girl can escape, a barrage of bandages wraps around her body, dragging her screaming into the darkness. As her cowardly partner abandons her without a second thought, he sprints away to save his own skin. This fleeing coward desperately reaches out to our hero, begging him to save his miserable life, but a sharp bandage spear suddenly pierces his chest, ending his brief run in a spray of blood. A creepy level 5 enchanted mummy emerges from the fog, boasting high attack stats designed to absolutely demolish clueless newbies, prompting our hero to calmly analyze the threat while realizing exactly why those two players got wiped so easily. Noting their pathetic movement speed, he readies his powerful fire staff to exploit their obvious weakness, and unleashes a devastating fireball directly at the undead horde while mocking their ugly faces. This explosive blast completely engulfs the lead monster, dealing massive damage and leaving the others totally stunned, allowing our boy to easily weave through their slow attacks while taunting them to keep up, until he suddenly remembers a nearby patch of deadwood forest that would make the perfect bottleneck, leading the entire angry mob straight into his trap as they mindlessly take the bait. Standing on a safe ledge, our boy smugly taunts the undead horde while mocking the newbies who panicked, which immediately triggers the mummies, sending them into a blind, red-eyed rage as they screech in fury, unleashing a massive barrage of sharp bandages that shoot across the swamp like deadly spears. Fortunately, our hero easily dodges the incoming attacks, performing flawless midair flips to evade every single strike. Landing gracefully while casually noting that these monsters are absolutely no match for an experienced veteran, he suddenly grabs a handful of the flying bandages, grinning as his real plan finally falls into place, sprinting around the ancient trees to weave the deadly threads directly into a massive, tangled web, trapping the confused monsters in a tight knot as they helplessly struggle against their own weapon. Admiring his handiwork, our boy gloats about his flawless calculations while the trapped horde groans in defeat, leaving him to raise his blazing staff and prepare a fire spell to burn them all to a crisp. A sudden server-wide system announcement pops up, offering a special bounty to hunt down players who harass the beautiful alchemist, which makes our boy grin like a smug villain, realizing this hilarious quest is absolutely perfect for him, since he can easily reach level 5 and use his veteran knowledge to completely thrash those annoying newbies. He unleashes a spectacular rain of fire from above, completely vaporizing the helpless mummies in a massive explosion, triggering a sweet system notification that rewards him with a rare warrior skill book alongside some gold. Although the skill itself is pretty average, he knows he can easily sell it for a few thousand gold, especially since the system is already counting his first kill toward that lucrative alchemist harasser bounty. Checking the chaotic world chat, he laughs at the desperate newbies complaining about the brutal difficulty of the swamp, only to spot his old rival, Crazy War God, leading a massive group of clueless guild members nearby, who are loudly cheering for their overconfident leader as they march directly into the deadly mummy territory. Clueless onlookers watch Crazy War God's guild march by, praising their expensive potions and future guild potential, while the arrogant leader smirks confidently, promising his followers a quick and easy sweep of the swamp. He immediately spots a lonely mummy in the distance and orders his squad to charge in, only for a massive, blazing fireball to suddenly erupt and completely steal their target right away, leaving the guild leader utterly shocked that another high-level mage has already made it this far. But before he can even process the threat, he frantically warns his team about the incoming fire, as a devastating meteor shower of pure flame begins raining down on their heads, trapping the screaming guild members in a fiery hellscape while their health bars rapidly melt away. completely vaporizing the arrogant bullies in a spectacular display of raw, overwhelming magic power, which triggers a flood of system notifications confirming their deaths and boosting our hero's bounty progress. Sitting back to watch the chaos, our boy wonders why these clueless players keep rushing to their deaths, while he happily reviews his newly unlocked level 5 skill, a powerful AoE freeze called Frost Blossom Dance. Taking advantage of a brief break in monster spawns to count his massive pile of stolen loot, which prompts him to immediately message the beautiful mage to set up another highly profitable trade deal. Stretching lazily, he secretly hopes more arrogant guilds will wander in to help him finish his hunting quest. He then inspects a rare blue-tier skill book called Wind Shadow, which is absolutely perfect for his mage build. Learning it instantly to gain a massive 30% speed boost alongside a handy defensive shield, leaving his glowing eyes locked onto his next target, the dungeon's very first boss. Venturing deeper into the freezing, mist-shrouded swamp, he prepares to claim his ultimate prize before anyone else can interfere, only to find another desperate squad of players already struggling hard against the relentless undead horde. Fed up with her annoying teammates, the beautiful healer named Fish Eye abruptly announces she is leaving the party, but the desperate guys immediately try to guilt-trip her, claiming they absolutely cannot survive the mummies without her heals, especially when they start making creepy comments and begging her to just give them a pretty smile, which only makes her realize how incredibly shallow they are compared to our smug hero. Undeterred by her cold glare, the sleazy party leader tries to bribe her with a vice leader position in his future guild, prompting her to finally snap and charge up a powerful spell to shut them up for good, unleashing a swift, icy strike that blasts the annoying leader backward and drains his health bar, just as a horde of mummies suddenly respawns right behind his terrified squad to finish the job, leaving her to scoff at his pathetic inability to track basic monster spawn timers like a real leader. Deciding not to waste another second on these losers, she walks away to level up and find our boy. Walking away from her useless party, Fish Eye wonders if our boy is currently farming in the exact same area, while her former teammates mock her behind her back, calling her a decorative nursemaid who needs to learn her place. Their arrogant leader, Death Song, confidently smirks as he plots to easily charm her into joining his future guild, but the peace is shattered by a massive world chat announcement from the furious mad god of war, who is wasting a fortune on server horns just to scream at our hero for wiping out his squad, only for a group of powerful female players to suddenly interrupt his loud, pathetic tantrum. Led by the beautiful Tingsu Wan, these high-level ladies casually mock the loudmouth for wasting his time making noise, leaving the underleveled bullies to sweat in sheer embarrassment as they realize how far behind they have fallen, especially since she openly declares her guild's protection over Mu Shen, warning the madmen to back off immediately, prompting the humiliated leader to throw another fit and scream that our boy is just hiding behind women. After getting called out in world chat for hiding behind women, Mu Shen immediately fires back with a savage insult, stepping out of the foggy woods with a smug grin to greet his self-proclaimed grandsons in person, which instantly triggers the furious guild leader, who points a finger and screams at him to prepare for death. Our boy simply snaps his fingers to reveal his character attributes, showing off his high level and rare gear, leaving the surrounding players completely speechless as they notice his legendary village chief's blessing buff and purple tier weapon, while the arrogant leader breaks into a cold sweat, realizing they are playing an entirely different game, prompting Mu Shen to lean in with a wicked smirk, asking what his dear grandchildren plan to do next. Although the bullies are clearly terrified, their leader desperately tries to convince himself that he cannot back down now, loudly demanding that our hero let them kill him once to settle the score or face eternal spawn camping, before flashing a delusional grin, foolishly believing their superior numbers will easily make up for the massive stat gap. Mu Shen casually points out that these guys are the actual wanted targets who harassed the alchemists, sending the embarrassed leader into a red-faced panic as he desperately tries to lie to the ladies, before the angry bully loses his mind and lunges forward with a massive war hammer. But Tingsu Wan suddenly offers her guild's assistance, which our smug hero politely declines for now, telling her to take her squad and step back so he can handle these clowns alone. He confidently activates group combat mode, completely unfazed by the fact that he is heavily outnumbered, leaving the beautiful guild leader to watch from the sidelines to see if he is actually powerful. While our boy switches his system settings to group attack mode and charges up his magic, unleashing a devastating barrage of fireballs that forces the panicked enemies to raise their shields, though their desperate defense only prompts their furious leader to scream for backup from his backline. This enemy backline unleashes a desperate barrage of arrows and fireballs directly at our hero, but Mu Shen easily weaves through the attacks while mocking their terrible skill cooldown management, leaving the panicked guild members unable to track his movement while the world chat roasts his hilarious new speed title, prompting our boy to summon a glowing blue magic circle to test out his brand new crowd control spell. He unleashes a massive wave of freezing frost that sweeps across the battlefield toward the terrified vanguard, instantly trapping the screaming bullies in solid blocks of ice as their health bars begin to plummet, shattering their defenses completely while their panicked leader desperately screams for heals that are still on cooldown, leaving the surviving members to argue amongst themselves about instinctively wasting their precious defensive shields out of pure terror. Mu Shen simply smiles at their utter stupidity, preparing a massive follow-up fireball to finish them off, and begins a cold countdown with a wicked glow in his eye to deliver the final explosive blow. our boy drops a massive surprise fireball right on the arrogant guild leader's head, leaving the terrified bully completely frozen in shock as his life flashes before his eyes. A devastating rain of fire completely obliterates his squad, melting their health bars in seconds, forcing the desperate leader to frantically chug health potions while his entire team gets wiped. And with his healer dead, he can only watch in horror as Mu Shen casually circles him, prompting the sweating bully to raise his weapon for one final, desperate stand. He swings with a heavy wind slash, but our hero easily dodges the slow, predictable attack, casually keeping his distance while noting that his opponent's best skill is now on cooldown, before suddenly teleporting right behind the slow warrior to deliver a savage, mocking taunt, and blasting him with a fiery strike, daring the self-proclaimed god to keep acting tough. This arrogant guild leader swings his massive weapon, completely convinced he can easily crush a squishy mage, but Mu Shen just stands there calmly, listening to the bully brag about his refreshed skill cooldowns, before casually flicking a tiny spark of fire directly into the screaming warrior's face, which instantly explodes to deal the final blow and completely empty his remaining health bar. Our boy waves a cheeky goodbye, mockingly apologizing for accidentally adding a little too much damage, leaving the defeated leader's soul to float away while screaming one last pathetic threat. Suddenly, the surrounding crowd erupts into wild cheers, instantly turning our smug hero into their newest idol, while the beautiful guild leader watches in awe, wondering just how deep his true power goes. As a massive flood of server-wide system announcements begins congratulating him for completing the legendary bounty quest, sending shockwaves through the entire player base as they realize a new gaming god has officially arrived. Across the servers, rival players grind their teeth in pure frustration after seeing Mu Shen claim the legendary bounty first, while a red-haired esports captain casually eats a snack, disappointed that his elite squad missed the ultimate kill streak. Realizing that even a professional team like theirs is not the undisputed strongest force in the game anymore, while a beautiful top-tier mage stares at her unfinished quest log, shocked that someone beat her to the punch, wondering if this mysterious new gaming god could actually be the familiar person she knows. At that exact moment, our smug hero suddenly lets out a loud sneeze, wondering who is gossiping behind his back, before meeting up with his favorite wealthy client to finalize another massive, highly profitable trade deal, leaving the beautiful guild leader bracing herself for whatever bizarre, shameless demands he might throw at her next, as he casually lists off an absurd mountain of rare loot and calculated gold prices like a seasoned merchant, before flashing a cheeky grin and offering her a special discount, completely throwing her off guard. Tingsu Wan stares in utter disbelief, realizing our boy is just as shamelessly business-minded as she feared, but he just playfully teases her, offering a free surprise if she dares to touch his leg again, before suddenly pulling out an incredibly rare green-tier warlock skill book for a special friendship price, jokingly adding a ridiculous condition about future leg touches that leaves the beautiful guild leader completely flustered. Although she never officially agreed to his terms, she still takes the book while he prepares a bonus tip, advising her to focus on farming a specific tree to unlock a massive hidden quest, which leaves her wondering how this mysterious player knows secrets that even the game developers have not revealed yet. Our smug hero confidently extends his hand, assuring her that partnering with him is a guaranteed win-win deal. Staring at his open palm, she quickly realizes that maintaining a strong relationship with him is absolutely essential, gladly shaking his hand while secretly becoming more and more intrigued by his endless supply of secrets. Logging off to the real world, our boy relaxes inside his incredibly comfortable high-tech gaming pod, thinking back to his past life when he could never afford such a luxury with his empty pockets. But this time he is determined to stay ahead of everyone and master his own destiny. Re-entering the game, he is instantly swarmed by panicked newbies screaming about an impending level 10 boss event, which prompts our smug hero to casually explain that it is just a rare hidden mission, completely unaware that rival guilds are already closely monitoring his every move to steal his strategies. Meanwhile, professional streamers laugh at the sheer absurdity of anyone trying to clear this impossible raid, but the countdown suddenly hits 0, sending massive shockwaves through the village as the ground begins to shake, leaving terrified players to flee in absolute horror as the game's ultra-realistic physics engine kicks into overdrive, while Mu Shen watches the chaos in confusion, realizing this NPC-led defense never actually happened in his past life. This village chief suddenly steps up to lead the defense, surprising the panicked crowd as he opens a massive glowing book to unleash a powerful battle cry, instantly showering the entire player base with a massive stat-boosting encouragement buff. But the ground suddenly shakes as a terrifying roar echoes from the nearby forest, revealing a horde of giant, angry tree monsters marching straight toward the village gates, prompting a brave warrior to step forward and confidently swing his weapon to hold the line, while the rest of the players quickly launch a desperate counterattack against the wooden invaders, though these high-level monsters prove to be way tougher than anyone actually anticipated, easily wrapping the screaming players in thick roots and making them regret logging in today, leaving the entire defense line in absolute shambles as the chaotic raid quickly turns into a total disaster. This giant tree monsters easily smash through the defenses, turning the starting zone into a total war zone, while panicked players respawn with temporary invincibility shields, instantly crying and blaming Mu Shen for their impending doom. But with the monsters camping the graveyard, everyone gets wiped the second their protective timers run out. Meanwhile, players from other servers watch the livestream in horror, thanking their lucky stars they are not there. As they realize this insane event is dropping the local player base back to level 1, even leaving professional guild leaders sweating as they analyze the sheer scale of this ridiculous raid, wondering if anyone in the entire game actually has a chance of surviving this wooden apocalypse. Suddenly, a massive rain of fireballs pours from the sky, dealing heavy damage to the invading trees, completely engulfing the terrifying monsters in a blazing inferno that lights up the entire battlefield, leaving the stunned survivors to watch in disbelief, wondering if some legendary mage is straight-up cheating. He unleashes a massive freezing spell that instantly traps the terrifying tree monsters in solid ice, before shattering them into a million glittering shards and completely clearing the immediate path, prompting the rescued players to erupt in wild cheers as they realize their savior is Mu Shen. Though our boy secretly admits he only stepped in because they were failing to gain any experience, he casually chugs a blue mana potion to quickly top off his reserves mid-battle, wondering if his dramatic entrance was just a little too flashy for a starting zone. Charging back into the fray, he swings his glowing staff to unleash a devastating wave of fire, easily ignoring the weak counterattacks from the monsters that barely feel like a light massage, leaving the amazed crowd to worship him as an absolute gaming god who can do no wrong, as he flashes a confident grin and rallies the players to clean up the remaining enemies together. Inspired by our boy, the hyped-up players charge forward with zero strategy but absolute confidence, while online spectators lose their minds over his terrifying damage output as the stream goes viral. Meanwhile, Tingsu Wan and her squad arrive to find the entire monster respawn point completely cleared, instantly realizing Mu Shen is the only player capable of pulling off such a ridiculous feat, prompting the beautiful guild leader to lead her elite team straight toward the front lines, where our hero is already busy organizing the chaotic player base into a proper fighting force. Support players quickly step up to cast powerful defensive shields to absorb the incoming damage, while Tingsu Wan suddenly makes her grand entrance to offer her guild's full coordination, ready to unleash her powerful warlocks and backlane mages to turn the tide of battle, leaving Mu Shen to take command and order a massive, coordinated barrage to obliterate the remaining monsters. Tingsu Wan takes charge of the battlefield, shouting orders to coordinate the players against the wooden invaders, while online spectators watch the live stream in absolute shock as the novice village actually starts fighting back, realizing that Mu Shen's clutch graveyard clear might actually give them a real shot at victory. This sudden turnaround prompts rival guild leaders to frantically message their offline members to log back in, hoping to shamelessly steal some easy experience points while our boy does all the heavy lifting. Meanwhile, at a high-tech foreign research facility, arrogant rivals scoff at the supposedly terrifying tree monster event, prompting a smug military commander to order a deep analysis on Mu Shen's incredible performance, though his nervous assistant warns him that our hero's power level is completely off the charts. Refusing to accept defeat, the furious commander rants about his nation's superiority while his grinding plans fall apart, threatening to replace his terrified deputy unless they immediately trigger the same high-level event for themselves. This relieved players celebrate their hard-fought victory, cheering for Mu Shen as they happily count their newly gained levels. But their celebration is cut short when a massive red beam of light suddenly pierces the sky, sending violent tremors through the earth as colossal, twisted roots burst from the forest floor, revealing a terrifying level 10 boss with 30,000 health points ready to turn everyone into fertilizer. This massive wooden nightmare lets out a deafening roar, immediately swinging its giant clawed limbs to attack, easily scattering the panicked players like bowling pins as they desperately scream for backup. Meanwhile, Tingsu Wan finds herself directly in the danger zone as another massive wooden hand swipes down, leaving the beautiful guild leader completely cornered with absolutely no time to dodge the incoming strike. And as the giant claw slams down with devastating force, a massive cloud of dust consumes the area. Fortunately, our boy swoops in at the absolute last second, carrying her to safety in a classic hero rescue. Tingsu Wan breathes a sigh of relief and thanks him, while our boy wonders if the boss targeted him specifically, as the massive wooden titan continues its rampage, easily shrugging off the player's desperate long-range attacks, leaving the terrified crowd to panic over its massive health pool and overpowered crowd control skills, while the colossal boss lets out another deafening roar, summoning a horde of smaller tree monsters to its side. Desperate for a miracle, the players beg our hero for a plan while the beautiful guild leader asks for his strategy, prompting Mu Shen to casually instruct them to handle the small mobs while he solos the giant boss himself, which she readily accepts, promising to keep the battlefield secure while warning him to be extremely careful. Stepping up as a true leader, she immediately begins organizing the chaotic players by their specific classes, directing the frontline warriors to hold the line while the warlocks coordinate a massive, synchronized barrage, leaving Mu Shen highly impressed by her tactical brilliance as she prepares to show the server her true potential. This colossal tree boss unleashes a devastating wave of dark energy, targeting everything in its path, but our boy just stands there completely unfazed, wondering why this overgrown weed has a personal grudge against him, before showing off his insane speed to easily dodge the incoming roots while recalling the boss's hidden lore, landing a massive critical hit directly on its heart that leaves nearby players absolutely speechless at his damage output. Though the boss's health pool is massive, Mu Shen uses wind magic to leap high into the air, unleashing a relentless barrage of fireballs to slowly chip away at the monster's thick wooden armor, deciding to lure the giant beast away so Tingsu Wan's team can focus on managing the battlefield. She immediately takes charge of the situation, ordering her warlocks to secure the resurrection point with buffs, while secretly worrying about our hero as he bravely takes on the terrifying raid boss all by himself, only for the massive titan to respond by summoning a terrifying cage of dark, twisted roots. This colossal tree boss unleashes a massive wave of sharp, rapidly growing branches to trap him, but our boy easily dances through the wooden maze thanks to his insane speed buffs before instantly retaliating with a massive wave of fire that engulfs the screaming monster in flames, leaving the giant titan completely helpless as it burns under his relentless magical assault. A devastating rain of meteors pours down next, chipping away massive chunks of its health bar, which is immediately followed by a freezing blast of ice to trigger a deadly elemental reaction, prompting our smug hero to casually tell the boss to enjoy his special elemental combo. Meanwhile, Tingsu Wan monitors the raid boss's health bar and realizes victory is just minutes away, inspiring the hyped-up players to throw themselves into the fray to secure their sweet rewards, while Mu Shen lands the perfect freezing spell to lock the giant boss down for good. Mu Shen prepares his final blow, channeling a massive sphere of concentrated fire magic into his staff, and unleashes a devastating blast that completely obliterates the giant tree boss in a spectacular explosion, leaving the ancient monster to shatter into a million glowing pieces as it laments its sudden defeat. With their leader gone, the remaining tree monsters instantly collapse and rot away into harmless dust, triggering a massive global system announcement that crowns Mu Shen as the first player to clear the event, which showers the entire village with massive rewards, prompting the ecstatic players to cheer his name in absolute adoration. Meanwhile, real-world spectators watch the livestream in complete disbelief, utterly jealous of the free levels and gold, while online forums explode with salty comments from players wishing they had started in the same village. Unbothered by the fame, our boy checks his inventory and smiles at his newly acquired tree god essence, right before another system notification pops up to congratulate him on reaching an impressive level 9. Our boy decides to activate the mysterious death god's hand bone to see what secrets it holds, but the system demands a massive pile of rare materials including his newly acquired tree god essence. As he initiates the process, the ancient bone begins to glow with a terrifying purple energy, only for the activation progress to suddenly lock him in place, leaving him completely unable to move. Meanwhile, Tingsu Wan feels a sudden icy wind and realizes this insane hidden quest is far from over, warning her squad about a terrifying new debuff called Death's Gaze that completely paralyses anyone affected, sending the surrounding players into an absolute panic as they realize they cannot even log out, while a massive, ominous storm sweeps across the entire battlefield to trap them in a helpless state. And to make matters worse, everyone's health bars suddenly start rapidly draining for no apparent reason, leaving the beautiful guild leader to watch her health hit zero without even respawning at the checkpoint. Tingsu Wan reassures her team that the black screen is just a developer adjustment after their fast clear, but she quickly starts to worry if our boy triggered some crazy hidden mechanism instead. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Mu Shen finds himself completely paralyzed by a terrifying debuff called Death's Gaze, as a pair of massive, glowing red eyes suddenly tear through the dark sky above him, locking onto our hero while the mysterious hand bone slowly ticks up to 20% activation. This oppressive red glare intensifies with every passing second, pushing the progress bar even higher, leaving him to realize in absolute horror that the literal death god has just descended. This endgame boss was supposed to stay locked away in a high-level temple until the actual apocalypse, making Mu Shen realize his little crafting experiment just accidentally dragged the ultimate threat into the early game, and as a familiar, chilling voice echoes, he remembers it as the last thing he heard before dying in his past life. This literal death god manifests in a swirl of dark energy, towering over our boy with a massive scythe, leaving Mu Shen to panic about dying again so soon after his hard-earned reincarnation. He desperately tries to break free from the paralyzing restraint while the activation progress ticks up to 65%, but the terrifying entity only looms closer, its glowing red eyes promising absolute destruction, only to suddenly offer our hero a bizarre choice to save his own skin, as the system prompts him to join the dark side with game-breaking stats that would make him an absolute god, which leaves him completely bewildered by this insane plot twist as he questions the monster's true motives, wondering if his cheat codes finally arrived, until he reads the fine print about betraying all of humanity. While the second option promises instant death, a complete inventory wipe, and a brutal level reset, leaving our sweating hero stuck in a massive dilemma as he desperately tries to find a third option. This terrifying entity demands his choice, prompting our boy to desperately stall for time while the activation bar hits 90%. His heart pounds furiously as he resolves never to fall into darkness, praying the progress bar completes before he gets obliterated. But the impatient deity looms closer and demands an answer, completely unaware that the hand bone is already at 95%. Preparing to deliver his final response, Mu Shen reflects on how his second chance at life was never going to be easy. He locks eyes with the ultimate threat, steeling his resolve for the massive gamble he is about to pull off, and boldly screams his refusal right to the monster's face, completely rejecting the offer to join the dark side. This insolence absolutely infuriates the ancient god, who mocks our hero as a pathetic ant destined to crawl in the dirt. But Mu Shen just smiles defiantly, declaring that even ants have grand ambitions and he will never bow to his mortal enemy, prompting the enraged deity to swing his massive scythe to send our brave hero straight to hell. Yet as the deadly blade slashes down, our boy remains completely unfazed, confidently planning his next heroic return in 3 seconds flat. Just as the scythe is about to strike, a blinding beam of golden light pierces the heavens, smashing directly into the deadly weapon and shattering the dark god's attack into a million pieces, leaving our boy completely stunned as he stares up at the sudden, miraculous intervention. While the enraged deity screams in agony as the holy light burns through his shadowy projection, desperately trying to resist the burning energy before his terrifying form begins to dissolve into nothingness, only for a majestic, glowing entity with 6 massive wings to descend from the clouds, revealing himself as Michael, the legendary supreme commander of the Temple Angels Legion, who immediately winds up a massive golden fist to deliver a final righteous beatdown, unleashing a devastating pillar of holy fire that completely purges the dark storm from the sky, forcing the defeated deity to retreat while leaving a chilling warning about our hero's dark destiny. Mu Shen stands in absolute awe, realizing the supreme commander of the Temple Angels Legion just one-shot a literal god, as he recalls how the Temple and the Death God factions represent the ultimate forces of good and evil. Our boy realizes his little hand bone experiment did not just summon a demon, it dragged this legendary angel into the mix, who suddenly commends his righteous choice while the paralyzing debuff finally wears off, prompting Mu Shen to awkwardly greet the high-level NPC while the hand bone's activation progress bar quietly hits 100%. Where the majestic angel offers him a legendary quest called Michael's Trial, promising the incredibly rare title of Temple Mage, which completely blows our hero's mind since this title unlocks the game's most lucrative hidden endgame quests, leading him to instantly accept the challenge before the divine entity hands over a glowing, mysterious reward. He carefully inspects the golden artifact, wondering what kind of insane power-up he just secured from this encounter, only to find a damaged evil dragon necklace with unknown stats that is just waiting to be purified. With a final blessing for his journey, the majestic angel spreads his wings and takes flight, leaving our boy standing alone as the divine light fades into the clear blue sky. He immediately inspects the damaged necklace, realizing it belongs to the legendary evil dragon armor set, a mythical gear set that made its sole owner completely invincible in his past life. And if he can successfully purify it, the rest of the set will surely follow. Shifting his focus, Mu Shen activates the Death God's hand bone to claim its massive rewards, unlocking a terrifying level 9 skill that boosts his overall damage output to ridiculous levels, which means he can now easily deal quadruple damage whenever he lands a critical hit, leaving him absolutely ecstatic as he celebrates this insane windfall from his regression. Until he sees the next upgrade requires 5 million experience, instantly ruining his mood. Mu Shen shifts his focus to his rewards, eager to hit level 10 and unlock some high-tier gear, as he eyes a massive pile of legendary loot chests floating deep within the green forest. But opening the first chest summons a majestic glowing tree spirit wrapped in ancient magic, who offers him a high-stakes quest to defeat the legendary Godslayer Apophis without taking a single hit. Our hero locks in, realizing this insane challenge is directly tied to his newly acquired angel trial, while the name of this terrifying boss triggers memories of the impending real-world apocalypse. Deep in the quiet expanse of space, a massive cosmic threat is already hurtling toward Earth, with scientists predicting a devastating near-miss that will forever change the fate of humanity, bringing a terrifying collision that serves as the catalyst for the game merging with reality, where the colossal Godslayer Apophis will emerge as the very first invader to conquer their world. Mu Shen locks in, realizing that even a weakened Apophis and its 3 mini-bosses will be a nightmare to defeat, while a global announcement reveals a professional pay-to-win team from Wingland just secured the server's first temple clear. But our unbothered hero simply shrugs it off, eagerly turning his attention to the glowing tree god's treasure chest. This system immediately floods his screen with massive rewards, including 50,000 gold coins and a server-first solo kill chest, leaving him absolutely ecstatic over a universal purple skill book and a massive boost to his temple prestige. Without wasting a single second, he activates the rare book to learn a powerful new skill called Spiritual Activation, which allows him to summon a mirror image clone with half his stats to completely overwhelm his future enemies. And since temple prestige boosts drop rates and unlocks hidden quests, he knows he is already leagues ahead of everyone. Next, he cracks open the legendary solo kill chest to claim a staggering 300,000 gold and a special title, equipping the Demon Slayer title to gain massive damage buffs that will make him unstoppable against the impending demonic invasion. Mu Shen dumps all his potential points straight into magic attack, fully committing to an absolute glass cannon build, before teleporting back to town to appraise his new gear and start purifying that legendary dragon necklace. Meanwhile, the relieved players gather at the respawn point, glad they did not end up brain-dead in the real world. Just as they complain about the game's bugs, our boy suddenly teleports right into the middle of the crowd, instantly triggering a massive wave of fanboys and fangirls who desperately beg to join his future guild. prompting our embarrassed hero to quickly calm the crowd down and encourage everyone to push toward the main city. Meanwhile, the furious leaders of Wingland throw a massive tantrum over losing the server's first global kill, especially since their own failed attempts at the event boss only ended up tanking their levels. Back in town, Mu Shen visits the local apothecary to buy some insanely expensive potions for his purification quest, where the beautiful alchemist happily hands over the goods while thanking him for keeping the local creeps in line. Mu Shen carefully pours the expensive potion onto the necklace, praying his massive investment pays off, and a blinding flash confirms the purification is a massive success, revealing a legendary dragon eye design. But he still needs to identify it, prompting him to pull out a rare perfect appraisal card, which dissolves into pure energy to unlock the hidden potential of this mythical piece of gear, revealing the damaged dragon bone chain with stats so ridiculously high they completely shatter his expectations. Looking over his updated status screen, he admires his insane magic attack and the legendary Demon Slayer title, resolving to hit level 10 before anyone else so he can monopolize all the local dungeon bosses. But his plans are suddenly interrupted when a massive, swirling pillar of golden fire crashes from the heavens, prompting our hero to lock in as he realizes the legendary Godslayer Apophis has finally arrived. While the terrifying impact sends shockwaves through the forest, leaving nearby players scrambling in absolute panic. A massive, fiery explosion tears through the sky, raining down absolute destruction upon the forest below, as terrifying shockwaves of flame and debris send nearby players running for their absolute lives. But Mu Shen calmly notes this is just a weakened simulation of the impending cosmic invasion, while the panicked players flee toward the novice village, praying the safe zone will not get completely incinerated, until a sudden decisive step halts the chaos right at the edge of the settlement, revealing the local village chief leaping into action with a massive surge of high-level water magic, as he unleashes a colossal tidal wave to clash directly against the raging wall of fire, leaving the onlookers completely stunned by his dual-class skills, even if he did ignore them earlier. This massive elemental collision fills the air with steam, successfully neutralizing the deadly threat, prompting the excited crowd to immediately swarm the old man, begging this hidden powerhouse for legendary quests. This village chief looks incredibly solemn, as if he is about to deliver some profound wisdom, only to casually munch on melon seeds while offering blessings, leaving the nearby players completely dumbfounded. But the comedy is cut short when a massive global announcement opens the legendary Ancient Wood Temple dungeon, prompting Mu Shen to lock in as he realizes the world-changing event has officially begun. He recalls how Apophis slaughtered humanity in his past life while searching for a mysterious material in the Amazon, knowing these terrifying apocalyptic events will soon merge with reality and plunge their world into absolute chaos. Realizing his current strength is still far from enough, our boy resolves to grind harder than ever before, knowing the pay-to-win whales will absolutely suffer trying to clear this dungeon on pure money alone. So he decides to let them struggle while he casually logs off to get some well-deserved sleep. With a quiet sigh, he returns to the real world as the peaceful city streets loom under the night sky. Mu Shen wakes up and stretches in his room, complaining that the high-tech gaming pod still cannot beat a real bed. He immediately checks the online forums, laughing at the absolute panic as players complain about the brutal new dungeon. Scrolling through the endless stream of complaints, he realizes most players are completely unprepared for what is coming next. He notes that while global teams are struggling, his own region is leading the charge despite not clearing the boss, and with a smirk he climbs back into his pod to log in and show them how it is done. Reappearing in the bustling town square, our boy stands tall as a level 9 powerhouse ready for action, only to be approached by a wealthy female player who is shocked to see him matching her high level, who immediately offers him some basic gear and invites him to team up for the upcoming temple raid, prompting Mu Shen to realize she has some serious insider info from the game's top-tier corporate sponsors, while she confidently reassures him that her exclusive strategies will make finding the first boss an absolute breeze. Mu Shen gets dangerously close to the flustered heiress, who quickly tries to bribe him with a massive cut of the dungeon rewards, realizing her corporate backing is incredibly strong and she is pulling out all the stops to recruit him. But our unbothered hero simply turns around and casually rejects her invaluable, top-tier insider information, leaving the wealthy beauty completely stunned and utterly speechless by his absolute refusal to cooperate. He calmly advises her to focus on leveling up instead of rushing into dungeons where she will surely fail, before waving goodbye to farm monsters alone, leaving her to fume over his seemingly insane decision to solo everything. An hour later, the global chat is absolutely buzzing with players desperately trying to track his legendary progress. Meanwhile, Mu Shen generously broadcasts his hunting targets to the public, letting everyone safely steer clear of his path, until a massive system notification finally congratulates him on reaching level 10 and unlocking powerful new features, prompting our overpowered hero to immediately head back to the village chief's house to claim his next legendary quest. Mu Shen slams his hands on the table, confidently declaring his intention to finally establish a guild, but the village chief casually munches on melon seeds while demanding a staggering 300,000 gold, leaving our boy completely speechless at this absolute highway robbery for a simple registration fee, though he quickly locks in and pays up, determined to build a powerhouse of elite players. He proudly names his new faction Fengshan Valley, envisioning a legendary force that will protect their world. A massive global announcement immediately congratulates him, sending shockwaves through the local player base. which absolutely stuns the wealthy heiress who realizes he was already miles ahead of her, while rival guild leaders fume in jealousy, desperately trying to downplay his historic server-first achievement. Back at the office, Mu Shen's inbox instantly explodes with over 999 join requests, prompting our unbothered hero to ignore the spam and activate his exclusive level 1 system blessing instead. Mu Shen rolls a solid 5% dodge buff from his newly unlocked guild blessing, before heading over to the local blacksmith to buy some cheap identification scrolls for his lower-tier loot, which reveals a purple-grade belt and boots with a fleeing speed buff that he immediately scoffs at. But since the raw stats are great, he posts a global ad to buy the matching helmet, only for his inbox to instantly explode with endless spam from clueless newbies begging for a carry. He even gets a highly questionable message from a sketchy player that leaves him completely disgusted, until a lucky level 2 assassin finally messages him with the exact blazing 3-link helmet he needs. Our boy immediately asks for a price, only for this absolute troll to claim they want to keep it, which makes zero sense since it is a mage-only item, leaving Mu Shen absolutely fuming at the mind games. Until the newbie tries to bribe their way into his elite guild, prompting him to laugh at the sheer audacity. A system notification pops up confirming that the mysterious level 2 assassin, Code 13, has officially joined the guild. Mu Shen chuckles to himself, planning to keep his guild highly selective and only recruit top-tier leaderboard players, while secretly plotting to take the newbie's helmet for his set bonus before immediately kicking him out. But his evil scheme is interrupted when the hyperactive assassin teleports in, leaving our hero facepalming in pure embarrassment. This clueless recruit wonders why the guild is so empty, completely unaware that Mu Shen plans to kick him soon, until Code 13 notices the low guild funds and casually starts spamming million gold donations like pocket change, leaving our greedy hero completely frozen in absolute shock as the guild treasury suddenly skyrockets past 10 million. Instantly throwing his high standards out the window, Mu Shen happily welcomes his new favorite walking bank with open arms. He quickly identifies the blazing 3-link helmet, completing a powerful set that grants him an insane life-saving passive, and now fully geared in epic loot, our boy prepares to conquer the legendary temple dungeon with his hyperactive benefactor. Mu Shen immediately mutes his hyperactive new guild member for an hour to get some much-needed peace, telling the low-level kid to go grind some experience while sending him off with a solid plan, before sending a dungeon invitation to the wealthy heiress with a staggering ticket price of 200,000 gold, leaving her completely flabbergasted by his sheer audacity as he casually asks if she wants in, though she warns him that other top teams are failing because the first boss goes completely berserk. But our overpowered hero simply smirks, confidently guaranteeing an absolute breeze of a clear with his new gear. When she tries to negotiate a full refund in case they fail, he shuts down her doubts immediately, playfully telling her not to worry before heading off to prepare for their upcoming raid. Half a day later, the hyperactive assassin runs up to the duo, eager to show off his new level, only to instantly lose his mind over the gorgeous heiress and desperately try to flirt with her. Mu Shen welcomes the wealthy heiress to his party while asking his hyperactive assassin to advertise their dungeon run, but the overenthusiastic kid takes the request way too literally by screaming into expensive world chat horns, which immediately triggers a wave of mockery from local players who scoff at the ridiculous entry fee. Seeing a risk-free chance to scout his skills, the heiress happily buys both remaining spots for her friends, bringing along 2 high-level guildmates who are highly skeptical of Mu Shen's ability to clear the dungeon. While the girls worry about getting wiped out, the hyperactive assassin confidently tells them to just sit back, before turning to his boss to ask if he can show off their guild's immense wealth, which leads to him spamming the global chat over 1,000 times to declare their absolute dominance, leaving the entire party completely speechless at this mind-boggling waste of incredibly expensive in-game items. With their dramatic entrance secured, the mismatched group finally arrives at the temple portal under a barrage of doubts. Stepping through the portal, the party marvels at Mu Shen's absolute composure while entering the legendary dungeon. A system warning echoes through the massive, ancient temple halls as the hyperactive assassin screams in awe. But our unbothered hero quickly shushes the noisy group to keep them focused on the dangers ahead, especially since the first level is a notorious maze of stone doors that traps players forever. One of the skeptical guildmates confidently offers to guide them straight to the boss to save time, only for Mu Shen to casually reject her help, prompting her to fume over his expensive entry fee, though he smugly reminds her that she can leave anytime without expecting a single gold refund. This triggers a massive shouting match between the angry heiress and their hyperactive, low-level assassin ally, leaving the bickering behind as he commands the dysfunctional team to keep up with his pace, leading them straight into a terrifying corridor of blood and looming shadows that completely shatters their confidence. This girls nervously warn the group about the hyperfast blood demons lurking behind the waterfall, but the assassin confidently reassures them that the monsters will not attack if they just keep moving, leaving the girls completely baffled as the terrifying red beasts watch them pass without striking. Soon, the dysfunctional party arrives at another massive stone maze with 3 mysterious pathways, prompting Mu Shen to confidently lead the way while his hyperactive sidekick gloats about their success, only to stumble into a creepy chamber littered with ancient, scattered skeleton bones. which immediately begin to rattle and piece themselves back together the moment someone speaks, drawing furious glares from the girls who instantly blame the talkative assassin for jinxing them. A massive horde of level 7 skeleton soldiers rises, their red eyes glowing with murderous intent, as the lead monster screeches and lunges forward to slice our heroes to pieces. Our heroes brace themselves as the massive skeleton horde lunges forward with terrifying speed. But Mu Shen casually unleashes a powerful wind slash that instantly shatters their front line, only for the remaining undead to grow even more enraged as their eyes glow blood red. This party's tank struggles to hold the line against their high defense, desperately calling for backup, prompting the mage to launch a massive fireball that explodes directly into the bony crowd. Yet the relentless monsters easily block the incoming physical attacks with their heavy shields. One skeleton retaliates with a brutal strike, catching the vanguard completely off guard and pushing her back, forcing the backline to quickly cast a freezing spell to slow down the advancing horde. Unfortunately, the frost magic barely scratches their high defenses, dealing laughably low damage to the monsters, leaving the panicked girls to scream at Mu Shen for lying about an easy dungeon run. While the party struggles against the undead horde, Mu Shen calmly steps forward to handle the situation. He begins channeling a powerful spell, summoning a massive glowing magic circle right above his hand, and instantly unleashes a freezing blizzard that locks the entire skeleton army in solid ice, before following up with a devastating firestorm that completely vaporizes the frozen monsters in seconds, leaving the skeptical girls absolutely speechless as they calculate his mind-boggling multi-thousand damage numbers, as our unbothered hero casually explains their elemental weaknesses before telling them to clean up the loot. This immediately triggers the angry guildmate, who screams about him keeping all the gold for himself, though Mu Shen simply brushes off her complaints with a sarcastic comment that leaves her fuming. While their hyperactive assassin ally eagerly urges the girls to keep moving and enjoy the show, until the dysfunctional group suddenly reaches a massive glowing cliff overlooking a terrifying lake of bubbling lava. This girls panic at the edge of the bubbling lava cliff, terrified of the extreme heat below, but Mu Shen casually borrows a shield and promises to return in exactly 5 minutes, before diving headfirst into the fiery abyss to hunt down the hidden monsters lurking below, taking minor heat damage as he spots his target swimming through the molten rock. Instantly, he unleashes a massive ice spell that freezes the lava and shatters the fiery beasts, leaving his teammates completely awestruck by his perfect knowledge of the dungeon's secret spawns. Standing calmly amidst the steam, our overpowered hero channels another spell to finish the sweep, trapping the final fire elemental in a massive block of ice that violently explodes. And right on schedule, he climbs back up to face the highly suspicious heiress, only to reveal a bizarre glowing golden chicken that absolutely nobody has ever seen before. Stepping into the next zone, the party is immediately hit with a nasty freezing debuff that slows them down, before the icy ground beneath them suddenly cracks open with a deafening roar, revealing a massive razor-sharp frozen blade that violently bursts straight through the shattered ice. It turns out to be a terrifying level 10 elite monster known as the Human Face Centipede, which immediately screeches at our unbothered hero as he calmly prepares his next spell, though the beast's deafening roar sends a powerful shockwave that leaves the girls clutching their ears in pain. Mu Shen quickly commands his team to snap out of it and scatter before launching his counterattack, slamming a massive fireball directly into the monster's face for a whopping 3,000 damage. But the furious centipede barely flinches and immediately prepares to retaliate with a freezing breath, unleashing an icy storm that sweeps across the battlefield while our boy easily dodges using his speed buff. Dodging the freezing blast, Mu Shen yells to his team that he will draw the boss's aggro. He commands the mages to use frost magic while the vanguard targets the monster's soft abdomen, prompting the girls to launch their attacks while their newly leveled up assassin ally panics in the background. But the giant centipede suddenly charges up a massive glowing sphere of freezing energy directly at them. Our hero barely leaps out of the way, realizing a single hit would absolutely devastate his health pool, especially since his secret quest requires a flawless clear of the temple without taking any damage. Fortunately, the team lands a heavy abdominal strike that successfully triggers a crucial 3-second stun, though Mu Shen quickly warns everyone to back off before the beast recovers and retaliates, unleashing another devastating fire spell that explodes for massive damage alongside the vanguard's heavy slash, while their hyperactive assassin runs for his life from the rising ice spikes, desperately begging not to get hit. This giant centipede unleashes a massive, swirling ice tornado that threatens to swallow the entire party, but Mu Shen quickly steps forward to draw the beast's aggro and keep his teammates safe, utilizing his insane speed buff to effortlessly weave through the deadly, freezing vortexes like a pro, before launching a barrage of fiery projectiles that leaves his watching party completely awestruck by his slick positioning. Although the attack lands, the monstrous centipede barely flinches as its multiple red eyes glow with pure rage, prompting the panicked heiress to scream a warning that the beast is about to go completely berserk, which triggers a terrifying transformation as the monster radiates a crimson aura and summons a horde of minions, screeching in absolute fury while its creepy, human-faced armor plates writhe and prepare to strike. This boss curls into an impenetrable armored ball, gaining absolute damage immunity while preparing its final map-wiping ultimate storm, leaving the girls in utter despair while their hyperactive assassin ally confidently claims his boss has got this covered. As the giant centipede curls into its armored shell to charge its ultimate map-wiping attack, a devastating blast of freezing energy erupts across the chamber, leaving the girls screaming in absolute panic. But Mu Shen calmly steps forward and tosses the mysterious golden egg directly into the storm, prompting the tiny golden chicken to hatch and chirp happily while the party watches in utter disbelief. Suddenly, a blinding golden light explodes from the tiny bird, forcing everyone to shield their eyes, revealing a colossal, incredibly muscular golden rooster that completely towers over the entire dungeon chamber, which effortlessly blocks the boss's ultimate freezing blast with its wings while taking absolutely zero damage, leaving the party completely dumbfounded as the assassin laughs hysterically at their boss's absurdly overpowered pet. With the ultimate attack blocked, the centipede's berserk state is lifted, leaving the monster completely stunned and vulnerable, allowing our hero to waste no time and launch a devastating fire spell that blasts the dizzy beast. With a massive fiery explosion, the giant centipede is completely vaporized as the system announces their flawless victory. A massive pile of loot drops from the boss, including a rare purple-grade warlock skirt that catches everyone's attention. This girls immediately celebrate their luck, with the wealthy heiress instantly bidding 50,000 gold to claim the gear, but their hyperactive assassin ally suddenly interrupts the deal by doubling the bid to a staggering 100,000 gold, leaving the girls completely baffled as the low-level rogue shamelessly flirts with the warlock to justify his bizarre bid, only to reveal he actually wants the skirt to impress some random girl he met just yesterday. Amused by the chaos, Mu Shen officially starts the system auction, triggering a rapid-fire bidding war between the two, as the system notifications flash rapidly with bids climbing higher and higher past the 200,000 mark. While the assassin cheekily points out that all this spent gold goes straight into their leader's pockets anyway. Before anyone can stop him, the crazy kid drops a final mind-boggling bid of 500,000 gold. This girls immediately back down from the ridiculous bid, leaving Mu Shen to happily pocket the massive pile of gold. While the girls relentlessly roast the assassin for his terrible financial decisions, our boy eagerly leads them forward. A system notification confirms their first boss clear as the dysfunctional party continues their endless bickering down the corridor. Reaching the end of the hall, Mu Shen pushes open a massive glowing blue stone door, which rumbles open to reveal a surprisingly bright and misty new zone hidden deep within the temple. Stepping into a serene forest clearing, our hero warns the group that the next boss area is right ahead, explaining that this level has no regular minions, but features a highly specific pillar activation mechanic instead, prompting the team to cheer him on like a weirdly supportive family as he prepares to trigger it. Leaving his noisy companions behind, Mu Shen walks alone into the misty, ancient ruins of a forgotten village, eventually stopping before a small, glowing house that once served as the temple workers' residence during its construction. Approaching the dark doorway, Mu Shen receives a system warning about 48 workers sealed by an ancient curse, which reveals that over the years, these trapped souls have merged into one terrifying entity. Meanwhile, the anxious assassin nervously asks if anyone else heard strange noises, only to get instantly teased, prompting him to desperately deny his fear while his teammate ruthlessly roasts his lack of courage, before she leans in with a creepy grin to whisper that ghosts are lurking right behind him. Although they laugh, the other girls admit they heard voices too, warning everyone to prepare for a tough fight. While back at the cursed house, our unbothered hero steps into the dark, misty ruins alone, keeping his guard up as ominous purple energy swirls through the dusty, abandoned rooms, taking a slow, cautious step forward as the floorboards creak beneath his heavy boots, and peers deep into the shadows, ready to face whatever merged monstrosity is waiting for him. Mu Shen notes that these monsters have actual intelligence and completely unpredictable spawn points, making his flawless zero-damage run requirement an absolute nightmare to pull off, when suddenly, a creepy mutated face with a massive tongue lunges straight at him, revealing a level 9 cursed worker that used to be a normal human before the mutation. But our boy reacts instantly, blasting the creature away while barely dodging its counterattack. As the monster dissolves into purple mist, he realizes just how close he came to getting hit, only for 3 more creepy mutants to burst through the doorway as he prepares a frost spell, and their heavy, stomping footsteps echo through the corridor as even more join the chase, completely surrounding our hero as a massive horde floods out of every single room at once, leaving him genuinely panicked because these guys were definitely supposed to spawn one room at a time. Mu Shen unleashes a freezing frost dance that shatters the first wave of cursed workers, but the massive damage instantly triggers the entire horde to swarm him all at once, leaving him trapped in a tight space where a single hit will ruin his flawless run, until he remembers a handy clone skill that boosts his magic and summons a mirror duplicate, prompting our boy to immediately order his new glowing twin to join the offensive, as they launch a double fireball barrage that melts the front lines of the charging mutants, successfully halting the terrifying monster advance even with the clones' half damage output, though Mu Shen quickly notices his spirit power bar is draining at an alarming rate, forcing him to come up with a desperate, last-second strategy to secure his perfect clear. Before he turns to his loyal clone with a hilariously apologetic look on his face, Mu Shen ruthlessly kicks his glowing clone straight into the middle of the swarming mutant horde, casually chugging a mana potion while his poor duplicate gets absolutely dogpiled by the creepy monsters, before unleashing a massive freezing spell that shatters the horde and successfully triggers the next phase. Suddenly, the defeated mutants melt into a writhing pool of shadows as a system warning pops up, revealing that the cursed souls are merging into a single, terrifying entity with completely hidden stats, prompting our hero to back away since these monsters will keep respawning infinitely if interrupted, leaving him to walk out of the misty ruins while pitying any weak teams attempting this dungeon. Meanwhile, the Vanguard strictly orders the girls to hold their positions even if they get scared, which immediately triggers another round of bickering as they roast their low-level assassin for talking too much, only for a massive, fiery explosion to suddenly erupt right in front of their very eyes. As the purple mist swirls violently, dozens of severed arms and cursed souls begin to merge together, forming a grotesque, multi-headed elite monster known as the mutated fusion entity with massive health and defense stats, which leaves the watching party completely disgusted while they panic over the beast's overpowered passive healing skill. But the massive abomination immediately curls into a giant rolling ball of flesh and charges straight forward, prompting our unbothered hero to slide underneath the attack and blast the monster with a powerful fire spell, though he quickly realizes its high resilience makes landing critical hits almost impossible even with his high stats. When suddenly a giant mutated hand reaches down to crush him, prompting his terrified teammates to scream warnings, but Mu Shen reacts instantly, unleashing a devastating point-blank explosion that blasts the massive limb to pieces, only to realize the monster's splattered blood is highly corrosive as it sizzles violently against the forest floor, forcing our boy to quickly formulate a plan to lure the beast toward the ancient pillar before its passive healing triggers. Mu Shen dances around the grotesque fusion monster, easily dodging its massive, flailing limbs with perfect precision, before blasting a limb with fire while warning his team that its toxic blood deals unhealable damage, prompting their terrified assassin to climb a stone pillar while the Vanguard launches a desperate gale slash. But the giant abomination quickly targets the climbing rogue, reaching up to snatch him midair, leaving the girls to frantically spam their spells to intercept the massive, creeping hand, until a massive wave of frost magic sweeps across the chamber to freeze the threat solid, revealing Mu Shen calmly channeling his overpowered magic while casually accepting his teammates' tearful thanks, as he summons a colossal frozen hand that completely dwarfs the monster's grotesque limbs, unleashing a devastating frost dance that encases the entire battlefield in solid, unbreakable ice, which leaves his party members staring in absolute silence at his absurdly high-level crowd control. Mu Shen charges directly at the grotesque fusion monster, weaving through its massive flailing claws with ease, while his panicked teammates scream for him to dodge the incoming strike from the giant abomination. But our boy instantly triggers his speed buff, transforming into a blur that effortlessly outruns the beast, before delivering a devastating point-blank strike that shatters the monster's defenses and chunks its health bar, prompting him to sprint toward the ancient pillars while ordering his team to prepare their trap. On his cue, the girls activate the magic array, unleashing massive beams of purple light to trap the beast, which summons a colossal magic circle in the sky that focuses its devastating energy directly onto the target, blasting the grotesque abomination with a blinding torrent of pure, purifying power that completely overwhelms its defenses, leaving the fused souls to shriek in absolute agony as the intense light disintegrates their mutated bodies. This stunning display leaves the party completely speechless, marveling at how insanely realistic this game's graphics actually are. This brunette girl suddenly points out that the boss has just gained a massive system buff, but Mu Shen explains the purple light seal actually blocks the monster's annoying resurrection skill, prompting the hyped-up party to charge forward together to unleash their ultimate high-damage skills, as the Vanguard leads the physical assault by ruthlessly slicing into the trapped abomination, followed by a devastating meteor storm that rains fiery destruction to completely deplete its health bar, leaving the massive, grotesque fusion monster to collapse lifelessly onto the misty forest floor. While the assassin eagerly celebrates their second boss clear, the brunette girl senses something is wrong, watching in shock as the melted flesh reveals the purified souls of the cursed villagers kneeling, who humbly thank our heroes for rescuing them from the darkness while accepting their past sins, before offering up their remaining treasures as a reward for finally granting them eternal peace. A massive shower of gold, gems, and rare jewelry rains down alongside two glowing treasure chests, leaving Mu Shen and his assassin ally thrilled to discover they scored 2 more purple-grade drops, prompting our hero to eagerly pop open the chests to see what kind of gear they got, as system notifications confirm he just obtained the rare frosted glass belt and frosted glass shoes, which leaves the watching girls completely speechless at their party's absurdly high luck stat. While the hyperactive assassin immediately celebrates completing the set, prompting Mu Shen to start the auction, only for the crazy kid to instantly drop another massive bid of 1 million gold, leaving the brunette girl to immediately back out of the deal before she goes completely broke, while the rest of the team stares in absolute disbelief at his terrible financial decisions. Meanwhile, Mu Shen quietly wonders who this wealthy, mysterious rogue actually is in the real world. Mu Shen rallies his party to move forward, eagerly leading them toward the next level of the temple. Descending a flight of glowing blue stone stairs, the group ventures deeper into the dark, mysterious ruins, while the red-haired assassin marvels at the ancient murals depicting a terrifying historical monster plague. Suddenly, a system notification warns them that they have officially entered the deadly inner hall, prompting the naive teammates to celebrate a supposed welfare zone before Mu Shen ruthlessly crushes their optimism. This bickering continues as the brunette girl frantically asks if they should position themselves for the upcoming fight, but our hero coldly warns them that he will not be saving anyone who plays carelessly. He flashes a terrifying grin, explaining that infinite respawns simply mean they will experience infinite painful deaths. Right before a massive horde of level 8 dust serpents slithers out of the shadows to attack them. Ordering a full-force assault, our hero prepares to fight while their panicked rogue realizes he lacks AI skills. This party unleashes a coordinated barrage of elemental spells, blasting the slithering dust serpents with fire and wind, but the sneaky monsters instantly trigger a rapid healing skill, restoring their health bars in seconds, leaving Mu Shen frustrated as he realizes these regenerating pests cannot be easily taken down in one shot. Determined to break their defenses, he summons a massive pillar of fire that completely engulfs the slithering horde, while their overconfident assassin charges forward only to get violently whipped by a giant scaly tail, taking a brutal slap straight to the face that sends him spinning and crying out in pain. Luckily, the brunette mage quickly casts a healing spell to patch up his bruised ego and body. Just as the group celebrates clearing the annoying wave, the entire cavern begins to shake violently, summoning a massive, swirling vortex of green sand and wind that tears through the ancient chamber, revealing the terrifying level 10 boss known as the Faceless Serpent Queen rising from the dusty ruins. This Faceless Serpent Queen unleashes a blinding green glare, prompting Mu Shen to desperately warn his team to look away. But it is already too late as a brutal system debuff paralyses them and drains their health rapidly, leaving their loudmouthed assassin to scream in absolute agony before collapsing face first onto the cold stone floor, while the rest of the team quickly follows suit, completely overwhelmed by the agonizing poison damage. Even when a quick revival skill triggers, the poor rogue instantly gets melted by the continuous toxic aura, sending their miserable souls into a nauseating green void where they desperately beg to stop experiencing such realistic pain. Fortunately, Mu Shen steps forward to cleanse the field, calmly telling his traumatized teammates to close their eyes, which finally saves them and prompts the humbled party to shamelessly beg our overpowered hero to carry them. Our unbothered protagonist barely has time to accept their praise before noticing the boss's energy shifting violently, warning his team to prepare themselves as a massive, mutated claw emerges for the final phase of the battle. This terrifying Faceless Serpent Queen fully emerges, flaunting her massive boss stats and a laundry list of deadly skills, prompting Mu Shen to order ranged attacks while their useless rogue panics over having absolutely zero ranged options. But the agile party manages to leap back just in time to dodge a massive tail swipe, allowing their purple-haired mage to land a solid hit that actually chips away at the boss's health, only for the furious serpent to retaliate by spewing a massive wave of toxic green poison across the room. Mu Shen immediately screams a warning for everyone to watch out for the highly corrosive venom, frantically ordering the vanguard to protect their healer while telling the melee fighters to retreat 30 meters, forcing their tank to step forward and raise a massive energy shield against the incoming toxic rain, which scatters the entire party as they desperately scramble to avoid the deadly, glowing green needles, while their useless rogue cowers against a wall, praying he does not get instantly melted by the crossfire. While his teammates scramble to safety, Mu Shen's glowing clone charges forward with a massive magic buff, delivering a fiery explosive strike that blasts the serpent boss right in its ugly face, before our hero quickly orders his startled mage to back him up with some crowd control, which allows the team to unleash a coordinated frost attack that freezes the giant monster solid, setting up a devastating follow-up combo that rapidly chunks down the boss's massive health bar. But the stubborn Serpent Queen refuses to go down, her glowing green eyes activating a terrifying curse, prompting a worried Mu Shen to realize she's preparing to unleash her deadliest ultimate skill, as a massive, writhing wave of green energy snakes erupts from her body to swarm the battlefield, leaving the panicked teammates to scream and run for their lives from the creepy, slithering horde. While Mu Shen desperately tries to formulate a plan, realizing this curse is far deadlier than in his past life, Mu Shen gets a sudden stroke of genius, realizing his glowing clone is the perfect sacrificial pawn, and without hesitating, he literally kicks his own clone forward like a human cannonball, launching the glowing decoy straight into the gaping maw of the furious Serpent Queen, leaving his teammates completely dumbfounded by this absolutely unhinged, high-tech gaming strategy. While the boss struggles to swallow the clone, Mu Shen orders everyone to unleash their ultimate skills, prompting a massive barrage of elemental attacks that deal heavy damage before the clone expires, which finally pops in a burst of light as the angry serpent bites down hard, forcing our hero to redirect their focus entirely onto the boss while ignoring the smaller pests. But with his crucial speed buff still on cooldown, he cannot afford to take any damage. Leaving him completely cornered as a swarm of venomous snakes lunges from the shadows. Mu Shen decides to take a massive gamble, unleashing a blazing fireball directly at the slithering horde. This torrent of flames incinerates the surrounding pests as he targets the boss's final sliver of health, but a stray serpent suddenly lunges straight for his face in a desperate counterattack, prompting his panicked teammates to scream his name while their mage quickly channels her frost spell, which successfully freezes the venomous threat solid just inches away from our hero's face, allowing Mu Shen to deliver a devastating critical strike that shatters the boss's remaining defenses, leaving the terrifying Serpent Queen to dissolve into a harmless cloud of glowing green particles. Our exhausted protagonist finally catches his breath, relieved that his risky gamble actually paid off, right before a brilliant flash of light illuminates the dark chamber to signal their victory, revealing a massive pile of rare crimson refined stones that will grant them valuable upgrade crystals. Mu Shen laughs off the danger, thanking his relieved teammates who were absolutely terrified by his risky play. He warmly pats their reliable mage on the head, leaving the hyperactive assassin to brag about his own contribution, before kneeling down to inspect the rare crimson refined stones that boost equipment enhancement success rates. But their looting is suddenly interrupted by a deep, ominous rumbling that echoes through the ancient cavern. This entire party spins around in surprise as a massive stone door at the far end begins to shake, slowly grinding upward to reveal a blinding blue light radiating from the mysterious chamber beyond, unleashing a sudden, freezing gust of wind that forces the startled adventurers to shield their eyes. A system notification confirms the temple gate has opened, prompting Mu Shen to reveal this is the final level, while he silently recalls the terrifying boss waiting inside, the legendary destroyer Starapophis from his past life, leaving his eager teammates completely unaware of the absolute nightmare they are about to face. This anxious assassin immediately loses his mind, whining about their chances against the final boss. But Mu Shen calmly sits down, reminding everyone to take a break and wait for their cooldowns. Seizing the moment, their shameless rogue demands the guild president give their exhausted leader a shoulder massage, sparking instant outrage from her protective teammate who draws her sword to defend her leader's honor. While Mu Shen quietly appreciates his wealthy sidekick's antics, the beautiful president actually agrees to help him, leaving the angry vanguard to chase the laughing rogue around the chamber in a fit of rage. Once their skills finally recover, the rested party steps through the glowing blue portal together, only to emerge into a stormy, lightning-torn wasteland where a massive stone monument has vanished. A towering, headless stone statue stands ominously in the center of the platform amidst the raging storm, prompting the terrified rogue to cower behind Mu Shen, who ruthlessly roasts him for being a coward. A massive dark-clawed hand bursts violently from the shattered stone floor, shaking the entire chamber, sending heavy debris flying everywhere as a colossal scaly tail slams down with immense force, revealing a terrifying black dragon that takes flight and towers over our tiny, trembling party. This majestic beast hovers in the air, whipping up violent gusts of wind with its massive wings, prompting a system window to reveal it is actually a dying demigod-level mount of the Temple Master. Thinking fast, Mu Shen shamelessly claims they are loyal devotees to avoid getting instantly vaporized, which seemingly convinces the ancient beast as it demands they protect the temple's sacred artifacts, before unleashing a blinding torrent of blue energy to baptize the group with its divine power, granting them an absurdly overpowered stat buff that immediately goes straight to their rogue's head. But Mu Shen remains dead serious, knowing a single mistake against the upcoming boss means total annihilation. A system notification blares, warning them that the final battle to stop the evil Apophis has officially begun, while Mu Shen realizes he must carry this hidden mission alone as his overeager teammates charge ahead blindly. But before anyone can make a move, a massive, glowing blue sword descends from the heavens, slicing clean through the ancient black dragon's neck in a brutal, blood-splattered display of divine power, which sends the beast's severed head flying as a blinding beam of energy erupts across the battlefield, forcing the terrified party to huddle beneath their shield as a colossal pillar of light obliterates the platform. And as the dust settles around the giant sword, the legendary dragon lies completely defeated, only for a terrifying, dark silhouette to slowly rise from the smoldering ashes of the fallen beast, leaving the battered and bruised party to stare in absolute horror as the real threat finally emerges, revealing the towering, dark form of the legendary destroyer Starapophis ready to wipe them off the map. Staring at the towering boss, the party realizes the fallen dragon's barrier is the only thing keeping them alive. Mu Shen tells them to stay put, but his teammates suddenly find their courage and offer to fight alongside him. Our hero quietly appreciates their loyalty, wishing people in his past life could have united so easily against danger. He steps out of the safe zone alone, leaving the worried guild president and teammates shouting after him, but our protagonist threatens to kick anyone who follows, determined to secure a flawless victory by soloing the beast. And as he approaches, a massive system window reveals the terrifying level 100 boss, Destroyer Starapophis, sending the low-level party into an absolute panic as they realize they are completely outclassed by this monster, until their sharp-eyed guild president notices a crucial status debuff active on the giant alien lord, which reveals his stats are heavily weakened, though any damage taken will still inflict 100% realistic pain. while the colossal boss glares down at Mu Shen, sensing the chilling aura of death lingering around our regressed hero. This colossal alien boss sneers down at our hero, arrogantly declaring that all humans are nothing but food, but Mu Shen just smiles calmly, confidently stating that he is more than enough to handle this fight alone, which absolutely infuriates the giant beast as it raises a massive, lightning-infused sword to crush him. Our unbothered protagonist simply prepares his staff, telling the arrogant monster to cut the nonsense and start fighting, prompting the furious boss to unleash a devastating strike that shatters the ground in a blinding explosion of energy. But Mu Shen easily activates his wind-based movement skill, gracefully leaping through the flying debris to escape unscathed, before immediately retaliating with a powerful elemental blast that chunks down the boss's health bar with massive damage. This furious giant demands to know why the slippery human refuses to face him head-on in battle, while our clever hero takes cover behind a massive floating boulder, laughing off the monster's obvious frustration as he prepares to use his past life knowledge to kite the beast and secure an easy victory. Mu Shen's devastating frost spell connects perfectly, shaving off chunks of the boss's health with massive damage numbers, which absolutely infuriates the giant alien lord as he curses our hero for being a cunning, despicable human, before unleashing a massive, swirling shockwave of red energy that tears through the entire battlefield, leaving his terrified teammates to scream warnings from the safety of their barrier, praying he can dodge the strike. Meanwhile, a massive global system announcement flashes across every player's screen, revealing Mu Shen's legendary boss fight, sending shockwaves through the entire gaming community since most players are still struggling to clear the first level. This historic achievement cements his country's dominance, proving they are light years ahead of any international competitors. And over at a high-tech research institute, top military officials stare at the screen in absolute disbelief. One furious officer even throws a massive tantrum, kicking his desk while calling his own elite team completely useless, prompting their commander to order an immediate recruitment campaign, offering Mu Shen a staggering $500 million salary to join them. This arrogant military commander from Wing Country confidently boasts that Mu Shen will easily bow to their superior might, while rival nations immediately panic, desperately throwing out absurd billion-dollar offers and ridiculous bribes to recruit him first. But back on the battlefield, the colossal Apophis unleashes a devastating, ground-shattering shockwave that tears the temple apart. This massive area of effect attack completely obliterates the arena, yet our clever protagonist quickly spots a crucial blind spot, diving deep underwater to completely bypass the deadly shockwave raging across the dry land above. Meanwhile, his terrified teammates huddle behind their barrier, desperately wondering if their leader has already been vaporized, only for the guild president to check their party's status, realizing his health bar is still completely untouched. Right on cue, Mu Shen leaps dramatically out of the water, completely unscathed by the boss's ultimate strike, knowing the giant alien lord will be temporarily staggered and highly vulnerable after unleashing such a massive attack. He immediately rains down a devastating barrage of fiery meteors, rapidly chunking down the boss's remaining health. Apophis slams his massive sword down, unleashing another devastating shockwave across the shattered arena, leaving Mu Shen completely baffled as to why the boss is repeating its ultimate attack, forcing our hero to dive straight back into the water to escape the lethal blast. But the relentless alien lord peers into the depths, determined to hunt him down, prompting Mu Shen to swim even deeper into the freezing water to avoid detection, which forces him to hold his breath in real life inside his gaming pod, desperately clinging to his dream of a flawless, no-damage run as his lungs scream for air, until he finally bursts through the surface, gasping for sweet relief in the stormy air. Realizing this chaotic pattern never happened in his past life, he watches the boss prepare another strike, prompting our hero to leap high into the air while charging up a fiery counterattack. Mu Shen's attack triggers a rare equipment effect, blinding the massive boss and forcing all physical attacks to miss, allowing our hero to easily dodge the giant's wild swings while landing a series of devastating counterattacks as he goes completely all out during this brief window, unleashing everything he has before the timer runs out. Once the blind wears off, Mu Shen quickly backs away to continue his flawless flanking strategy, leaving his stunned teammates to watch in absolute awe as they wonder how he became so ridiculously overpowered, while the beautiful guild president realizes this game is real, contemplating her own future role in the coming apocalypse. Suddenly, a massive meteor shower rains down from the heavens, dealing 500,000 damage to the struggling boss, prompting the excited party to cheer him on, already dreaming of the legendary global announcement they are about to secure. But the furious alien lord refuses to go down easily, glaring at our hero with pure hatred, before unleashing his terrifying ultimate form in a massive explosion of fire, ready to bring absolute despair to the battlefield. This boss unleashes his ultimate skill, world-destroying thunderfire, engulfing the entire battlefield in a massive, fiery explosion, while a terrifying vortex of dark energy and flames swirls violently around the transformed alien lord, leaving the ancient stone platform completely shattered and sizzling with intense heat as the smoke clears, which forces the terrified party to huddle inside their protective light column to survive the apocalyptic strike. Suddenly, they realize Mu Shen is nowhere to be found, sending them into a panic as their barrier dissolves. But their despair turns to absolute confusion when they pull up the party menu to check his status, revealing his health bar is still completely full, proving our clever hero somehow managed to dodge the blast. Meanwhile, the colossal boss stands tall in his fully armored form, radiating an aura of pure destruction, mocking the foolishness of mere humans who dare to oppose his supreme alien power, leaving the bewildered party to stare out into the empty arena, wondering where the monster has gone. Apophis is kneeling and coughing up blood, bitterly blaming the fallen dragon for his severe injuries, but his dramatic monologue is cut short when Mu Shen's voice mocks him from the shadows, leaving the relieved party to cheer as they desperately scan the battlefield for their leader, only for the giant boss to stare down in absolute disbelief at the completely unscathed human. Turns out our clever hero survived the ultimate attack by hiding directly under the monster's legs. And before the furious boss can swing his massive sword, Mu Shen summons his shadow clone, activating his Hand of Death skill to double his damage output for one final devastating strike, unleashing a barrage of explosive attacks that completely shred through the alien lord's remaining health, sending his massive sword clattering to the ground as his health bar officially drops to 0, leaving the defeated tyrant to ramble about his supreme race before finally collapsing into the dust. Standing over the defeated boss, Mu Shen demands to know why these self-proclaimed rulers think they can invade his world, but the dying tyrant can only sputter weak insults as he stares up at our unbothered protagonist, prompting our hero to slam his staff down, dismissing the monster's final threats as a complete joke, which leaves the fading boss to whisper an ominous warning about their inevitable reunion in the future. Before his massive body finally collapses and shatters into a million pieces on the ruined platform, suddenly, a brilliant pillar of golden light breaks through the dark clouds, illuminating the entire temple ruins. Our hero stands majestically in the divine glow, looking like an absolute god as the dark smoke dissipates, leaving his starstruck teammates to lose their minds over his legendary, flawless no-damage clear. While the boss's remains completely dissolve into purple particles, leaving behind a massive pile of rare loot, revealing 12 glorious purple treasure chests that immediately make our greedy protagonist's eyes turn into giant hearts. Mu Shen immediately auctions off the rare loot, prompting his eager teammate to drop a cool million gold, while the system tallies up their final scores, confirming a flawless run with perfect kills across the board. Leaving his teammates with modest D ranks while our hero secures a legendary SSS rank and massive rewards. This historic achievement triggers a massive global announcement, sending shockwaves through overseas servers as foreign players stare in disbelief, even as struggling players in other regions get absolutely wrecked by basic monsters while reading the news, sparking absolute panic among elite international guilds who realize they are already light years behind the ancient country, which throws the entire global community into a frenzy as everyone desperately tries to recruit this mysterious god. Meanwhile, players back home gather in town squares, bitterly regretting passing up the chance to join his raid. With the job done, Mu Shen bids his exhausted team farewell, advising them to log out and rest, leaving the beautiful guild president to wave goodbye, eagerly anticipating their next meeting in the real world. Meanwhile, night falls over the bustling imperial capital as the real world continues its quiet routine, where the exhausted guild president relaxes in her luxurious apartment after a grueling day of raiding. But her peaceful evening is quickly interrupted by a barrage of incoming phone notifications, revealing a group chat filled with wild rumors about her supposed secret relationship with Mu Shen, though she simply ignores the gossip to take a shower, letting her rivals stew in jealousy. Back in the game, our hero stares down a massive cliff, sensing a powerful artifact hidden below, only to be suddenly startled when a mysterious, booming voice echoes from the darkness behind him, revealing the glowing spirit of a massive dragon that is finally ready to pass on, thanking our hero for avenging its fallen master before its soul completely fades away into nothingness, leaving Mu Shen with a legendary piece of dragon armor as a reward for his historic victory. Mu Shen watches the black dragon's spirit dissolve into the sky, wishing the ancient beast a safe journey, before waking up inside his real-world gaming pod, determined to use this legacy to save humanity's future, stretching his arms as he prepares to log back in tomorrow when the real chaos finally begins. Spawning back into a peaceful town square, our hero wastes no time getting straight to business, opening his legendary server-first treasure chest to claim a massive hoard of rare enhancement stones and skill books, only to be instantly spammed by his guildmate about absurd multi-million-dollar recruitment offers from desperate foreign nations, which he completely ignores to admire his newly upgraded level 10 staff and his god-tier character stats. Next, he inspects a mysterious treasure map fragment, realizing it leads to a secret realm of immense power, prompting him to pull out a perfect identification scroll to finally reveal his next legendary gear piece. While back in the city, the beautiful guild president prepares to leave her allies for her next big move. Back in her apartment, the guild president receives a sudden holographic call from her corporate boss, who casually sips wine while ordering her to secure their company's influence within the empire, demanding she immediately join Mu Shen's newly formed guild to establish a direct connection with him, even suggesting she use her feminine charms to gain his trust before rival nations recruit him first. Accepting her mission, Wan sends a formal request to join Feng Shen Valley, which leaves Mu Shen completely stunned that a top guild leader would willingly demote herself, prompting our cautious hero to send her a stern warning about keeping corporate politics out of his guild. But she quickly reassures him of her loyalty, typing out a promise to support his vision. Once she officially joins, their excited guildmate completely loses his mind in the chat over the legendary recruit, prompting Mu Shen to call an immediate meeting as his top allies assemble in the guild hall. Pao immediately starts buttering up their beautiful new recruit, bragging about how amazing their guild leader is. He boldly declares himself second in command while assigning her the title of third sister, leaving her incredibly embarrassed. Mu Shen quickly cuts the playful banter short, reminding them to focus before asking which main city they want to choose. Since the massive continent of Apocalypse is divided into distinct regions that directly mirror the real-world map, prompting Wan to choose a beautiful Buddhist-style city while Pao vows to follow their leader wherever he goes. But their jaws instantly drop when Mu Shen calmly announces his destination is the legendary Winter City. Wan quickly warns him that cities have different difficulty tiers, with Winter City being a notorious SSS-level danger zone, explaining that players cannot teleport there directly, meaning a single mistake on the perilous journey could ruin his account. But our confident hero simply smiles, assuring her that he is already fully aware of the extreme risks, leaving his teammates deeply anxious as he prepares to conquer the path that has broken every other elite guild. Mu Shen casually explains that high-risk cities offer the best rewards, completely ignoring his teammates' warnings about the danger. After she walks away in frustration, our hero hands over top-tier assassin gear to prepare his buddy for the journey, but their planning is interrupted when Pao warns him about wild rumors accusing him of betraying his own country. Shrugging off the gossip, Mu Shen completes his quest and bids a final farewell to the grateful village chief, who rewards him with a rare disguising cube that will let him hide his identity from greedy rivals, prompting our ambitious hero to officially accept the perilous quest toward the legendary SSS rank Winter City, knowing that every single level he gains in this virtual world directly boosts his real-life survival chances. Determined to clear his name and put an end to the annoying recruitment spam once and for all, he broadcasts a massive global announcement declaring his absolute loyalty to his homeland before logging off. Meanwhile, the morning sun rises over the bustling real-world metropolis as humanity's final countdown quietly ticks away. Relaxing in his gaming chair, Mu Shen wonders how his parents are doing in this timeline, when a sudden message and money transfer from his dad pops up on his phone, prompting him to reflect on how they sacrificed everything to protect him in his past life. Shaking off the heavy thoughts, he grabs a snack and browses the latest trending game streams, analyzing how the game's economy is rapidly evolving as players push for high-level gear enhancements. Meanwhile, a detailed analysis of the main city choices flashes across another computer screen, where the beautiful guild president takes a slow sip of red wine while planning her next move, deeply contemplating which region she should choose to secure her guild's future in the coming chaos. Back inside the virtual world of Apocalypse, the stage is set for the next major update as Mu Shen celebrates his massive hidden quest rewards, including a priceless cross-class skill book. Mu Shen inspects his new purple skill book, choosing a powerful sorcerer healing spell as his cross-class ability. Next, he activates the rare disguising cube to alter his appearance and protect his real-world identity. As the magical cube shatters into glowing blue pixels, his avatar undergoes a stunning physical transformation, revealing a ridiculously handsome new look paired with sleek, dark armor that screams top-tier player. Logging back into the game, he is immediately greeted by his eager red-haired assassin teammate, who proudly brags about his newly enhanced purple gear set, thinking he finally looks cool, only to freeze in absolute confusion when he fails to recognize his own boss's handsome face. Once the realization hits, the assassin completely loses his mind over Mu Shen's legendary glowing armor, prompting our unbothered hero to calmly dismiss the dramatic praise with a smug, knowing smile. But his buddy's jaw drops even further upon realizing Mu Shen's entire set is fully enhanced to +9. Pao bitterly complains about the weapon enhancement system, crying over how many resources he wasted trying to reach +10, but Mu Shen just laughs it off, leading his eager buddy toward the town's central teleportation array, prompting the assassin to admit that this game saved him from a boring life of inheriting endless family wealth, before he bursts into dramatic tears of admiration, earning a swift command from our hero to shut up. Suddenly, their beautiful teammate teleports into the plaza, wondering why they cannot just take an easier route, only for Pao to eagerly introduce his boss's incredibly handsome new look to the stunned guild president, who proudly reveals her gorgeous new ice-themed armor set, determined to accompany them on this dangerous journey. Our hero warmly welcomes her as family, while his sneaky teammate secretly hopes they end up together. And with their small but elite roster finally assembled, they prepare to make their next big move, stepping into the glowing teleportation gate as they officially set off toward the legendary frozen perils of Winter City. This system locks in Mu Shen's choice of the SSS-level Winter City, routing them through the perilous Kunlun Mountains, and with a bright flash of light, the trio successfully teleports onto a massive, frozen platform, immediately getting hit by a blast of freezing wind that has Pao shivering and complaining instantly, while the system warns them that this ancient battlefield of gods and demons demands absolute survival. As they officially accept the main quest, Wan marvels at how the game's hyper-realistic atmosphere mimics real life, prompting Mu Shen to check his interface, only to discover his legendary skill has unlocked a second slot. Though he quickly realizes the absurdly rare materials required to activate it might just be a massive troll. Before he can dwell on it, Pao's passive detection skill flares up, warning them they are already being watched, just as a massive level 13 wolf leaps from the snow to ambush the unsuspecting party, only to be instantly sliced in half by a blinding wind slash before it can even land. A smug warrior blocks their path, instantly recognizing Mu Shen as the legendary server-first achiever, revealing himself as a level 14 player who thinks he is the big boss around here, arrogantly assuming our hero just got lucky and demanding they let him tag along to Winter City. But when Mu Shen flatly refuses, the guy just laughs like a classic delusional villain, summoning dozens of his high-level guild members to completely surround our trio on the snowy mountain, leaving Wan and Pao stunned by how fast these players manage to level up and organize, though our unbothered hero just stares him down, casually asking if they are here to rob them. This warrior explains they need a disposable suicide squad to bait some high-level monsters ahead, threatening to block their path forever if they refuse, but Mu Shen remains completely unfazed until the beautiful guild president steps forward, offering a surprising bargain to buy them some time. This enemy guild members start making incredibly creepy comments about Wan, showing their complete lack of class, prompting Wan to whisper a quick plan to Mu Shen, who reluctantly agrees to play along, as our hero steps forward and conjures a basic fireball, proposing a simple survival test, which only makes the enemy lackeys laugh, mocking him for threatening their boss with low-level magic, while the arrogant warrior boasts that even 100 of those tiny sparks could not scratch him, only for Mu Shen's fireball to instantly vaporize him with a massive 5,000 damage hit. This boss's soul literally floats out of his body in shock as his character collapses, leaving his entire squad frozen in terror over how a low-level mage could pull off such insanity, with a system warning popping up about his rising sin value, though our unbothered hero shrugs it off, while the resurrected warrior screams in rage from the spawn point, accusing Mu Shen of blatant cheating. This arrogant warrior instantly respawns, realizing too late that the resurrection point is in the exact same spot, and before he can even blink, our hero casually blasts him with another massive fireball, prompting his shocked lackeys to rally their numbers, foolishly believing they can still overwhelm the trio. But Mu Shen simply unleashes a devastating ice spell, sending sharp frozen spikes erupting across the battlefield, which instantly freezes the entire enemy squad solid before shattering them into glowing blue pixels. When the pathetic leader respawns yet again, he finds our hero casually waiting with another flame in hand, leaving his remaining allies completely frozen in terror as they realize they are hopelessly outclassed, especially when a swarm of chaotic fire spirits begins chasing them down with explosive heat, forcing the humiliated warrior to drop to his knees and beg for mercy while dropping his gear. Meanwhile, nearby onlookers eagerly record the entire beatdown, laughing at how the notorious bully got absolutely destroyed. Dropping to his knees, the defeated bully desperately begs for mercy and apologizes for his arrogant behavior, as he tearfully explains that his squad was forced into a suicide mission by a rival faction, prompting Mu Shen to calmly demand a full breakdown of the local map and player layout, while Pao aggressively keeps the crying warrior in line to ensure they get every detail, leading our hero to offer them a deal, taking full command to use them as a safety buffer. With the deal struck, the massive group marches deeper into the freezing mountains toward dangerous Python territory, where the guide secretly hopes to watch our overpowered protagonist get overwhelmed by the upcoming monsters. But Mu Shen simply turns to address the anxious crowd, confidently promising to guide them safely, provided they follow his strict rules of absolute obedience and immediate expulsion for any cowardice, before showing off his guild's legendary buffs to recruit the strongest players with promises of gold. Mu Shen shamelessly uses Wan's beauty to recruit players, leaving her highly annoyed while he laughs it off. This crowd goes absolutely wild for the promise of gold and gorgeous guildmates, though Mu Shen secretly considers them cannon fodder, quickly organizing his massive new army by class. Our strategic hero leads the charge toward the dangerous Snow Fox region. As they march deeper into the frozen forest, the sight of giant shed snake skins hanging from the trees chills the troops. Knowing that deadly snow pythons are masters of stealth, Mu Shen suddenly halts the march to scan the quiet path ahead. He commands the mages to launch fireballs at the seemingly empty snow, confusing his troops who see absolutely nothing there, but they obey his orders anyway, raining down a massive barrage of fire that instantly scorches the frozen ground, exposing several level 15 snow pythons whose legendary ice armor makes them incredibly difficult to damage. Rather than panicking, Mu Shen orders his archers to fire explosive arrows to push the giant beasts back, keeping the pressure high as the mages continue blasting the snow piles to shatter the monster's defenses. This massive fire barrage rains down on the snow pythons, proving Mu Shen's tactical strategy is absolutely flawless, as the giant beasts screech in agony while their legendary ice armor completely shatters under the intense heat, allowing the melee players to charge in and easily finish them off without wasting a single potion, while our hero calmly directs the ranged assassins to secure the perimeter and land the final blows. With the path cleared, the entire army bursts into wild cheers, celebrating their flawless victory under his command. Knowing they need rest, Mu Shen orders everyone to log off and prepare for tomorrow's grueling march. But before he leaves, he casually trolls the defeated bully who is desperately searching for his lost gear, only to be interrupted by a distressed female warrior searching for her husband who was captured by monsters. She explains that the legendary Snow Python King took him, immediately alerting our hero to a potential hidden quest, prompting him to carefully calculate his response to ensure this rare system mission actually triggers. Playing the part of a weak mage, Mu Shen acts hesitant until the desperate warrior begs for his help. She immediately hands over her most valuable scroll, prompting our hero to heroically accept the quest with a straight face, After pocketing the legendary red-grade map, he asks Zulio for the exact coordinates of the beast's icy lair. Guided by her directions, the duo braves the howling blizzard as they climb higher up the treacherous mountain. They soon discover a massive, bone-chilling cavern that practically screams boss arena to anyone brave enough to enter nearby. A legendary glowing blade known as the Sword of the Sun stands frozen in the snow. While Mu Shen tries to reassure his companion about her husband's safety, a sudden shift in the wind alerts him. Turning around with a sharp warning, he realizes they are no longer alone on this frozen peak. A colossal tail of pure ice crashes down, shattering the frozen ground and forcing them to dive for cover, revealing the massive level 20 Snow Python King as it rears its ugly head to defend its frozen domain. Zulio draws her dual blades with absolute determination. Ready to face the massive beast head-on, she leaps into the air with a powerful slash, demanding the monster return her captured husband. But the giant python suddenly opens its maw, launching a smaller, venomous purple serpent from its throat, forcing the brave warrior to block the surprise strike as she gets violently pushed back. And before she can recover, the purple serpent pivots to ambush Mu Shen while he charges his magic, prompting our hero to unleash a barrage of fireballs that chip away at the beast's massive health pool. Realizing that normal physical attacks are useless unless he can land a massive flame spell directly inside its mouth. Suddenly, the boss counters with a deadly frost mist, threatening to freeze our hero solid for 3 seconds, until Zulio leaps in front of him to block the icy blast, narrowly saving him from certain doom. Quickly thanking his ally, Mu Shen leaps forward with a blazing spell, ready to exploit this perfect opening. Mu Shen jams his staff directly into the python's mouth, searching for a weakness in its icy armor, before activating his spirit energy and the Grim Reaper's hand to double his damage output, which allows him to launch a massive fireball straight down the monster's throat at point-blank range, instantly shattering its legendary defenses with a devastating armor break that chunks its health bar, before following up with a double rain of fire that completely melts the beast in explosive heat. Seizing the perfect opening, Zulio leaps into the air with her dual blades drawn for the kill, driving her sword directly into the giant serpent's eye with absolute precision and force, sending the boss into a wild frenzy of pain as its remaining health rapidly drains away, until the colossal Snow Python King finally collapses onto the frozen ground, officially defeated by the duo, leaving our exhausted heroes to catch their breath in the quiet snow as the intense battle ends. Refusing to celebrate just yet, Zulio desperately screams that she still has not found her missing husband, and with absolute determination, she plunges her blade deep into the frozen ground to keep searching, unleashing a powerful slash that tears open the massive serpent's belly in a desperate rescue attempt, only to freeze in absolute horror as she finally catches sight of her beloved Liang. But her relief instantly turns to despair upon realizing he did not survive the beast's toxic stomach. Kneeling beside his glowing blue sword, she weeps bitterly over their tragic fate and broken promises, while Mu Shen quietly watches from the sidelines, realizing this quest was never meant to have a happy ending, until the grieving warrior turns to him, expressing her deep gratitude before asking for one final favor, requesting that our hero bury them together in a beautiful place where they can finally rest in peace, before she suddenly ends her own life, leaving Mu Shen to solemnly witness their tragic reunion in death. Standing atop the freezing mountain, Mu Shen erects a simple wooden grave to let the tragic lovers rest in peace, as a massive system notification pops up to reward him with gold, experience, and 2 legendary skill scrolls, which grant him devastating area of effect physical damage and a temporary dual-blade combat form, prompting our hero to log off for the day while promising to put their legacy to good use. Back in his apartment, he is casually relaxing on the couch when an unknown number suddenly buzzes his phone, revealing a mysterious representative from the Empire who wants to reward his insane in-game achievements, which makes him realize just how easily they tracked his real-world identity before they dropped 30 million in his account. But the caller takes things a step further, offering to remove Jiang Wan from his life if she bothers him, which instantly triggers a wave of shock as he remembers she was his savior in his past life, sending his mind spiraling back to a chaotic memory of desperate cries for a healer amidst a brutal battlefield. In his memories of the past life, our hero lies battered and bruised on a chaotic battlefield, just as a warm green light washes over him to mend his fatal wounds, revealing the blurry silhouette of the mysterious savior who pulled him back from the brink, who turns out to be a stunningly beautiful girl gently telling him to rest and recover. But before he can even thank her, an urgent call summons her to another monster raid, leaving him with a gentle blessing as she disappears into the chaotic warzone like an angel. Back in the present, Mu Shen facepalms in sheer embarrassment as he finally connects the dots, swearing that he will use his overpowered abilities to protect his savior in this new timeline. Shaking off the heavy memories, he logs back into the game right on the snowy peak, only to find the meeting spot completely empty, leaving him wondering where his army is. Checking his friends list, Mu Shen notices that almost everyone is offline except for his ally Dark God, who immediately spams him with frantic messages crying that their entire squad has just been wiped out, explaining that a massive enemy force ambushed them and completely ignored his warnings about our overpowered protagonist. This leaves our hero highly confused, wondering who would dare to ignore his reputation in this region. until the crying warrior reveals that the attackers belong to none other than the notorious Madman Guild. Hearing that the enemy is currently camping their resurrection point, Mu Shen coldly orders his ally to wait, as Wan Shen logs back online to find her guild leader absolutely furious about this sudden disruption, prompting the duo to quickly coordinate their next move and prepare to fight their way back. While over at the resurrection point, the arrogant bullies drag in a scout who tried to warn them, leaving the helpless player surrounded by the enemy guild as they prepare a deadly trap for our hero. This arrogant bullies ruthlessly beat down Mu Shen's ally, laughing off his desperate warnings about their overpowered boss, while their smug leader openly mocks our hero, daring him to show his face or suffer the same fate. Hearing this, Wan is ready to charge in, but Mu Shen stops her to plan a much more permanent punishment, swearing to hunt these toxic players down repeatedly until they completely regret ever logging into this game. So he drops 10,000 gold on a legendary duel order to lock them in forced combat, quickly taking command of his battered squad's chat to coordinate a flawless counter-strategy against the ambushers. Before marching in, our hero uses his newly acquired red grade map to unlock a devastating legendary fire spell, and as he finally steps onto the snowy battlefield, the enemy leader immediately starts trash-talking his arrival. This level 14 warrior boasts about his upgraded gear, completely ignoring the massive level gap between them, leaving Mu Shen to stare back with a cold, silent gaze that promises absolute destruction for his enemies. Mu Shen recognizes the enemy's vice president as a legendary warrior from his past life, sporting a rare +10 weapon, while the guild's loudmouth leader continues to scream, desperate to settle their old grudge from the novice village only for our hero to casually slam down a legendary dual order flag, completely silencing the arrogant bully. Meanwhile, a stealthy assassin blends into the snowy background, keeping a close eye on the unfolding drama, prompting the surprised guild leader to quickly ask his vice president if any other enemy squads are nearby, confident they have the upper hand. The bully boasts about stripping Mu Shen of all his high-tier gear, but his arrogant attitude quickly backfires when his own vice president coldly tells him to back off, as the elite warrior steps forward to acknowledge Mu Shen's legendary reputation before issuing a warning. Gripping his glowing purple blade, the skilled fighter promises to stay out of the immediate guild conflict on the sole condition that Mu Shen survives long enough to face him in a true death match. Wan Shen warns him that the life and death order carries insane penalties, basically deleting the loser's character, but our hero confidently accepts the high-stakes challenge, knowing his opponent is just trying to probe his secrets. As the legendary duel flag slams down, locking both guilds into a brutal, no-holds-barred war to the death, both armies line up on the frozen battlefield, ready to settle this massive grudge once and for all, and the enemy guild immediately charges forward, unleashing a chaotic barrage of fiery projectiles to start the raid, forcing our hero's squad to quickly raise their shields against the devastating rain of explosive magic, which successfully absorbs the initial impact, keeping their defensive line perfectly intact despite the intense heat, allowing Mu Shen's mages and archers to instantly retaliate with a deadly volley of counterattacks from behind, prompting the arrogant enemy leader to personally lead the charge to smash through their front lines, only for Mu Shen to calmly face the giant blade, completely unfazed by the massive level gap between them. Mu Shen completely bypasses their front line, diving straight into the enemy crowd before they can even react. This arrogant bullies try to surround him, but our hero is simply too fast to hit. He unleashes a chaotic barrage of explosive fireballs, turning their backline into a complete war zone, leaving their panicked warlocks desperately trying to heal the burning casualties amidst the absolute chaos, until a stealthy assassin suddenly ambushes their support, proving that their defenses are completely non-existent. This sends the enemy leader into a screaming panic, desperately ordering his men to protect their healers, while Mu Shen calmly coordinates his squad's rotations through the system chat to maintain absolute control. Realizing his army is falling apart, the furious guild leader decides to personally charge into the fray, only for a massive rain of legendary fire to completely obliterate his remaining forces from above, leaving the helpless bully to watch his entire guild burn while our hero smugly enjoys the show. This arrogant guild leader orders his entire squad to surround Mu Shen, confident that sheer numbers will easily overwhelm him, but our hero casually pulls out his newly acquired legendary scroll, deciding to save his best fire spell for later. He activates the Snowfall dual blades, instantly boosting his physical stats and leaving the enemy completely baffled by his sudden class change. And though the panicked leader tries to reevaluate his combat power, he still desperately orders his men to charge, only for their strongest physical attacks to land with a pathetic clink, dealing a hilarious 1 point of damage, prompting Mu Shen to smugly mock their weak efforts before unleashing a freezing whirlwind of dual blade slashes, which leaves the enemy president staring in absolute disbelief as his entire vanguard gets completely obliterated in seconds. Realizing their front line is gone, the desperate guild leader orders all ranged units to spam their attacks together, but even a massive barrage of explosive magic fails to scratch him, merely ticking away single digits as he charges forward, allowing our overpowered hero to effortlessly slice through their ranks while his allies watch in absolute awe. Mu Shen realizes his dual blades benefit from his elemental buffs, but notices his ally desperately needs healing. Fortunately, a warm green light washes over the injured warrior to quickly restore his health bar, revealing Wanner as the dedicated healer who is determined to keep their team's MVP fully protected. But before they can celebrate, our hero senses a sudden threat and turns around in shock. as the cowardly enemy leader suddenly ambushes Wanner from behind, brutally knocking her out of commission, leaving the smug bully to laugh hysterically about his resurrection while mocking Mu Shen's helpless nanny. This cowardly move instantly pushes our hero over the edge, sending him into a state of pure rage, as a terrifying aura of dark energy erupts around him, promising absolute destruction for his enemies, prompting the panicked guild to desperately order their ranged units to focus all their fire on him. But Mu Shen merely glares through the explosions, deciding to unleash his legendary scroll to end them. Mu Shen unleashes his newly unlocked legendary fire spell, his eyes glowing with pure, unadulterated rage, as he channels a massive pillar of blinding solar energy directly into the frozen ground, sending a devastating wave of explosive flames that instantly sweeps through the entire enemy vanguard. This battlefield completely erupts in massive pillars of light, vaporizing the arrogant bullies in seconds, leaving our hero to calmly dust off his shoulders amidst the fading embers of his destruction. Surveying the absolute carnage, the elite vice president stands frozen in shock among his fallen comrades, realizing his high-stakes life and death challenge has just become a one-way ticket to character deletion. Meanwhile, in the real world, a massive corporate skyscraper is currently hosting a total meltdown, where the furious guild owner aggressively berates his subordinates for losing their entire 1,000-man elite squad, while the traumatized leader lies on a couch, desperately trying to explain how a level 13 mage destroyed them. This furious guild owner continues to berate his failed subordinate, who desperately begs for one last chance to redeem himself, a mysterious woman coldly shutting down his excuses while another member warns that Tian is still proceeding with the duel. As inside a sleek gaming capsule, the legendary lone wolf prepares to risk everything in his next high-stakes match. Back on the snowy battlefield, Tian admits he underestimated our hero before offering him a final chance to back out. But Mu Shen remains completely unfazed, knowing his opponent is a notorious researcher of hidden quests with a secret trump card, while the elite warrior struggles with his own club boss ordering him to stand down to avoid further losses, leaving our hero to casually ask what his options are, ready to face whatever the challenger throws at him, as he recalls how this stubborn fighter once single-handedly wiped out an entire guild in his past life, making it clear that negotiating with such an obsessive player is going to be incredibly difficult, especially since Tian is currently ignoring his screaming boss in the real world to lock in the deadly match. Gripping his controller with absolute determination, Tian ignores his manager's frantic warnings to back down, leaving the furious club boss to scream in vain at the locked gaming capsule, as the obsessed pro player vows to risk everything just to secure a victory. Back in the game, Mu Shen welcomes the challenge with a confident, knowing smile, slamming the blood-red duel flag into the snow to officially begin their high-stakes battle, prompting Tian to immediately leap into the air, channeling a massive surge of purple lightning, which erupts into a devastating mountain collapse strike that catches even our hero off guard. This sheer force of the impact leaves the spectating squad completely stunned by its unscientific power. But the smugly resurrected enemy leader merely laughs, mocking them for not knowing about skill enhancements, though Wanner quickly shuts him down, reminding the sore loser that he still got utterly obliterated. This defeated bully tries to deflect his embarrassment by spreading petty gossip about Wanner's past connections, but the squad quickly shuts him down while he desperately hypes up his assassin's high-tier gear. Meanwhile, Tian channels a massive surge of purple lightning, preparing to unleash his ultimate strike, forcing Mu Shen to quickly analyze the enhanced elemental damage that managed to bypass his defenses. As the elite warrior leaps in for a fatal blow, our hero calmly retreats to plan his counterattack, gripping his staff tightly as he decides it is finally time to put some real pressure on his opponent. With a confident shout, Mu Shen unleashes a devastating fire spell that completely engulfs the battlefield in flames, trapping the shocked warrior in a massive inferno that threatens to burn his health bar to zero. Yet the stubborn fighter refuses to back down, desperately pushing through the blazing heat to strike back, raising a glowing energy shield to block the deadly flames as he fights to survive the onslaught. Despite the raging inferno, the elite warrior manages to shield himself from the worst of the blast, though the intense heat still chips away at his health while applying some nasty movement debuffs, prompting the stubborn fighter to leap high into the air to bypass the burning ground entirely, as he unleashes a devastating heavy sword strike that sends a massive shockwave across the battlefield, throwing Mu Shen off balance as he marvels at his opponent's ridiculous ability to spam aerial attacks, leaving our hero to grumble about how even a regressor does not get such a broken cheat code, especially when Tian lands a massive critical strike that takes a huge chunk out of his health, forcing Mu Shen to slide back across the snow while trying to process this insane damage output. But our clever hero quickly activates a cross-class warlock skill to instantly restore half his health bar. Ready for round 2, he channels a freezing frost dance while complaining about his opponent's double enhancements. Tian unleashes a massive freezing slash, but our hero effortlessly glides right past the icy strike, leaving the elite warrior completely baffled by a mage possessing such ridiculous speed and defense, prompting the desperate fighter to activate a forbidden skill that grants him absolute crowd control immunity. As his armor erupts in a blood-red aura, trading his own health for temporary invincibility and massive power, which immediately makes Mu Shen suspect his opponent might also possess some cheat-like regression knowledge. But before he can fully process the threat, the buffed warrior prepares his final devastating strike. A massive red slash tears through the air, dealing a staggering amount of damage to our hero, triggering a series of violent explosions that completely shatter the frozen ground beneath them, leaving Mu Shen to desperately complain about almost getting deleted right after healing himself, only for He Tian to dive in with a final ruthless blow to finish the job. Seeing the chaos unfold, the enemy leader screams in triumph while our hero's allies watch in absolute horror, as he rallies his entire guild to watch their champion execute Mu Shen once and for all, forcing our hero to brace himself as a massive blood-red blade slices directly toward his face, triggering a colossal explosion that completely shatters the frozen ground and engulfs him in blinding smoke. This sends the arrogant bullies into a wild celebration, convinced their invincible champion just deleted him. Meanwhile, Wanner and her remaining squad members stare at the wreckage in absolute despair, fearing the worst, allowing the smug enemy leader to step forward and demand they surrender all their legendary gear, before his disgusting goons start laughing, offering to spare them only if Wanner agrees to their crude terms, leaving her allies desperately holding her back as she trembles with pure rage and disgust at their threats. But their victory lap is cut short when a massive purple energy blade suddenly tears through the battlefield. A glowing blade suddenly pierces right through the enemy vice president from behind, throwing their ranks into absolute panic, as a majestic silhouette emerges from the swirling dust, radiating an aura of pure unmatched dominance, leaving the terrified survivors to stare in horror as they realize their invincible champion has been utterly defeated. Our overpowered hero calmly steps forward, looking down on his remaining enemies and calling them absolute trash. This spectacular victory sends his allies into wild celebrations, officially declaring Mu Shen the winner of the death match, prompting the terrified enemy guild members to frantically log off the game to escape further humiliation, while Wanner watches in quiet awe, desperately trying to understand how he clutched a win with 0 health. Meanwhile, at the nearest resurrection point, the legendary lone wolf slowly materializes back into the game world, staring blankly at his hands as the harsh reality of his first major defeat finally sinks in, only for his mind to flash back to the devastating final strike that completely shattered his defenses. He Tian thinks he finally landed the killing blow, only to realize he just pierced a decoy, as the real Mu Shen reveals himself as a glowing blue afterimage, completely shattering his opponent's confidence, explaining how he used a split-second decoy to perfectly bait the warrior's ultimate attack. Though the desperate fighter tries to lock him down with a sudden freezing spell, it is already too late because our hero immediately counters with a massive fireball that erupts into a spectacular explosion. Nursing his wounds, the defeated warrior laments his massive losses in gold and experience points, staring blankly at his sword while begrudgingly admitting that Mu Shen is simply on another level. Yet he still vows eternal vengeance before telling our hero to finish him off once and for all, prompting Mu Shen to coldly look down on his fallen rival while channeling a small, concentrated flame, which he casually tosses forward to put an end to this dramatic duel. As the tiny flame connects, the defeated warrior braces himself for the absolute worst. But instead of deleting his character, Mu Shen decides to spare him, leaving the warrior completely bewildered by this sudden mercy. Our hero even sends a trade request to return the warrior's high-tier gear, proving he values a potential ally over loot. With the transaction completed, Mu Shen walks away while suggesting they keep their future battles strictly friendly. This generous move leaves his own squad completely baffled, forcing our hero to explain his master plan of recruiting the elite fighter. Knowing the warrior's knack for finding hidden quests, Mu Shen is confident that his show of sincerity will pay off. Meanwhile, the red-haired assassin eagerly assumes he is in the squad, only for Mu Shen to joke that assassins are totally dispensable. This sends the dramatic rogue into a hilarious panic, desperately begging for his spot until our hero finally relents. While the team bickers, Wanner quietly wonders if the proud warrior will actually accept after they just destroyed his guild. But her doubts vanish when a friend request pops up from a newly renamed killer god, which our smug protagonist happily accepts. In their private chat, He Tian thanks our hero for returning his gear before officially quitting his toxic guild, but his jaw drops when Mu Shen casually mentions he is leading a raid into a secret hidden dungeon tomorrow. Meanwhile, in the real world, the furious club boss throws a massive tantrum as the elite warrior officially resigns. Ignoring the screaming manager, He Tian walks out to focus on what truly matters to him, which turns out to be bombarding our hero with endless questions about the dungeon, desperately begging for an invite, only to get instantly shut down when Mu Shen flatly refuses to carry anyone outside his own guild, leaving the conflicted warrior to completely abandon his pride the moment he hears about the potential hidden quests. Our smug protagonist laughs at how easily his target took the bait, demanding absolute obedience from his new recruit, prompting He Tian to throw a massive fit when he is told to address Mu Shen as Big Brother. Yet his pride evaporates instantly as he sends the humiliating text just to secure his precious dungeon spot. Mu Shen reassures his embarrassed recruit that the Big Brother title is strictly to keep their mission secret. While back in the real world, a team of explorers trudges through a harsh, snow-covered mountain range, where they suddenly stumble upon a massive, glowing ice phoenix statue guarding a mysterious swirling portal, a legendary location known as Kunlun Mountain that has baffled scientists and historians for generations, leaving the research team completely awestruck by the giant sword piercing straight through the mythical frozen beast. As the exhausted lead researcher decides it is finally time to retire and visit his gamer son, they realize the game's virtual terrain perfectly mirrors this real-world frozen wasteland, hinting at a terrifying connection, prompting the brave explorers to step directly into the dark rift to uncover the truth. Meanwhile, back in the game, Mu Shen's squad marches through the freezing wind toward the Snow Fox territory, where Wanner warns them about a deadly sub-zero rift that can instantly freeze any player to death. As the squad navigates the freezing wasteland, they suddenly hear a faint, desperate cry for help echoing through the wind, prompting the overly enthusiastic red-haired assassin to spot a half-buried man and immediately assume he triggered a hidden quest, so he eagerly rushes forward to claim the glory before anyone else can stop him. But Mu Shen instantly senses the danger, screaming at his reckless teammate to get back, because the helpless victim's face suddenly swells up into a grotesque, pulsating purple mass, erupting into a massive, multi-fanged worm monster that lunges forward to swallow the rogue whole. Moving with blinding speed, our hero flashes forward to physically shove the terrified assassin out of harm's way, dragging him backward across the snow while warning that a single bite from this beast means instant death, leaving the shaken squad to quickly retreat while trying to comprehend what kind of nightmare they just encountered, only for Mu Shen to grimly explain that the NPC was actually a real player used as live bait. Before the team can process the bait, the snow beneath them begins to shift violently, revealing a pack of level 20 phantom snow foxes with some seriously annoying elite stats, leaving the panic squad completely surrounded by a massive horde of these glowing red-eyed beasts. But our comm leader quickly analyzes their movement patterns to predict exactly where they will jump. Testing his theory, Mu Shen unleashes a precise fire spell right at the beast's landing zone, triggering a massive explosion that instantly vaporizes the elite monster in a single hit, which immediately inspires his allies to raise their shields and prepare a coordinated counterattack. Following his instructions, the ranged players unleash a devastating barrage of elemental magic to clear the path, allowing the entire squad to safely advance toward the bridge while keeping their tight formation, as Mu Shen coordinates the crossing order to ensure they safely reach the next resurrection point. As the squad carefully navigates the treacherous suspension bridge, freezing winds threaten to blow them off, while Tian holds the rear guard, unleashing a fiery spell to cover their desperate retreat. This surviving guild members scramble across the icy planks, praising Mu Shen for keeping them alive, and our hero calmly watches them pass, silently analyzing their impressive speed despite their lack of firepower. But his tactical analysis is cut short when he senses a sudden, terrifying shift in the wind, prompting him to scream a frantic warning as he realizes the remaining stragglers are still in danger, because that grotesque purple worm monster has returned, aiming to completely shatter the bridge with giant icicles. Unleashing a devastating icy blast, the massive monster strikes the fragile structure with terrifying speed, instantly shattering the wooden bridge and sending the helpless players screaming into the bottomless abyss below. Panicked allies scream for him to run as our hero desperately tries to balance on the shaking ropes. Balancing precariously on the swaying ropes, Mu Shen struggles to maintain his footing against the relentless beast, while his terrified guild members scream from the safety of the cliff, warning him of another incoming attack. As the massive purple worm monster launches a colossal icicle directly at his blind spot, forcing our hero to execute a desperate midair dodge to avoid getting pinned down on the collapsing bridge, prompting him to immediately retaliate with a massive fireball to keep the aggressive beast at bay. But the monster's icy counterstrike still clips him, sending him flying backward as he grunts in pain, leaving his panicked allies to watch in absolute horror as their leader almost plunges into the abyss, only for Mu Shen to barely hook his weapon onto a remaining rope to stabilize himself, though he quickly realizes he has been backed into an incredibly passive and dangerous corner. Meanwhile, his frantic squad members realize they are completely out of range to pull him to safety. Hanging onto the remaining bridge ropes, Mu Shen desperately urges his team to find a way across quickly. But his escape is cut short when a grotesque, multi-eyed mass of flesh begins crawling toward him, revealing a terrifying elite monster known as the rotten flesh of the devil with completely glitched-out stats. And our hero shudders as he spots an undigested hand, realizing eaten players cannot even revive. While his panic squad watches from the cliff, Mu Shen resolves to hold his ground at all costs, shouting at his allies to prepare their defenses and prevent the beast from reaching their side, prompting a frantic debate about cutting the rope, even if it means dropping their leader into the abyss. As the disgusting beast lunges forward to consume him, Mu Shen prepares a desperate counterattack, unleashing a precise fireball spell directly at the rope to sever the connection himself, sending the screaming monster plummeting into the bottomless depths while our hero swings back to safety. As the bridge collapses, Mu Shen plummets into the freezing abyss while his terrified squad screams in panic. He barely manages to grab a dangling rope, swinging wildly amidst the howling, sub-zero winds, gritting his teeth. Our hero clings to his only lifeline as the freezing cold drains his stamina. This extreme frostbite instantly numbs his hands, making it nearly impossible to maintain his grip on the rope. To make matters worse, that disgusting flesh monster is actively climbing up the rope to consume him. Up on the cliff, his helpless guild members panic, assuming their leader is completely doomed this time. Suspended in midair, Mu Shen realizes his entire body is frozen solid and he cannot even move a finger. With its massive, multi-fanged maw wide open, the grotesque beast prepares to swallow him whole. But a sudden, powerful updraft erupts from the bottom of the abyss, violently blasting the monster away, leaving the shocked squad members to scream in utter confusion as the mysterious windstorm sweeps through. A massive pillar of brilliant blue light suddenly erupts from the abyss, drawing everyone's eyes upward, revealing a legendary ice phoenix that lets out a majestic cry as it soars into the sky, which instantly rewards the awestruck squad with massive potential points just for witnessing this mythical event. Hanging onto his rope, Mu Shen stares up at the magnificent beast in absolute wonder, before noticing a glowing blue gem embedded directly inside the frozen flesh monster's head. Realizing it is the legendary Ice Phoenix spirit crystal that once caused massive geopolitical disasters in his past life. A system prompt warns him that taking the crystal will instantly unseal the terrifying beast, but refusing to let this once-in-a-lifetime loot slip away, he reaches out and grabs it anyway, immediately unleashing a powerful fireball point-blank to blast the newly awakened monster away, using the explosive recoil to swing himself back to safety while the beast plummets into the dark. Just when Mu Shen thinks he is safe, the grotesque flesh monster wraps itself right back around his rope, climbing upward with terrifying speed as its massive, multi-fanged maw gapes open to swallow him whole. But up on the cliff, the relieved guild members notice his active health bar and realize he survived, prompting Tian and the others to grab the heavy rope and pull with all their might while our hero scales the cliffside, shouting for his team to prepare their ranged attacks immediately. Following his orders, the mages and archers line up at the edge to unleash a devastating barrage, raining explosive fire arrows directly onto the climbing beast to cut its movement speed in half, allowing Mu Shen to finally scramble over the ledge, where he instantly orders them to cut the rope. And without a second thought, a nearby warrior steps up and slices the thick cord in two, sending the burning, screeching monster plummeting straight back down into the freezing depths of the abyss. This relentless flesh monster leaps back up, terrifying the guild members who realize how brutal this path truly is, but Mu Shen immediately counters with a devastating fire spell, unleashing his powerful hand of death, while the rest of the squad coordinates their ranged attacks to keep the beast at bay, sending the grotesque creature plummeting all the way down into the dark, bottomless abyss. As the squad gathers around their safe leader, he reveals the monster was actually a piece of demonic flesh, explaining that the game is divided into two warring factions before urging them to keep moving forward. Meanwhile, in the real world, a stranded research team waits near the giant Ice Phoenix statue for rescue, only to face a new nightmare when a massive, ancient centipede wraps itself around the lead researcher's leg, prompting a frantic search for sulfur and fire to drive the bloodthirsty prehistoric creature away, leaving the desperate leader with no choice but to order his companion to burn his own leg. Pouring strong alcohol directly onto the prehistoric centipede, the desperate researchers try to force the creature to release its grip, but with the beast refusing to budge, the injured leader frantically orders his companion to set his leg on fire. Apologizing for the extreme pain he is about to cause, the young explorer sparks his lighter and ignites the fuel, sending the old man screaming in absolute agony as the roaring flames engulf both his leg and the screeching monster. Suddenly, the flaming centipede detaches from the charred flesh and lunges directly at the terrified teammate on the ground, prompting Brother Yang to bravely step forward with a metal tool, determined to intercept the aggressive creature, while his panicked ally screams a warning as the burning insect rapidly scurries across the icy floor. Moving with impressive reflexes, Yang manages to scoop the thrashing beast into a metal pot and slam the lid shut, leaving the exhausted team to catch their breath while realizing they might have disturbed something far beyond their comprehension, as they stare at the rattling pot, wondering if this ancient Kunlun passage is actually a long-forgotten tomb of gods. Back in the real world, Brother Yang warns his terrified team that something even worse is lurking in the passage, urging them to stick together and head back to the supply tent for food and water while they wait. But as they step outside into the howling blizzard to reach their camp, they realize with absolute horror that the massive Ice Phoenix statue has actually shifted its position. Meanwhile in the game, Mu Shen's guild safely reaches the second section of Fengeming Road to take a well-deserved rest, where our hero presents a glowing blue flower, assigning his guild members a collection quest before they log off, prompting Jiang Wan to playfully complain about her lost beauty sleep before he casually asks for her real-world contact info, leaving her to wonder if this mysterious expert is finally about to reveal his true identity to her. But Mu Shen simply smiles and tells her that he trusts her completely, and the touched commander softly thanks him as they prepare for the challenges ahead. Back in the real world, a massive crowd gathers to watch a high-stakes gaming tournament on a giant screen, while Mu Shen casually enjoys some ice cream beside a very nervous Luo Jiusi as she dreads her upcoming match. But the crowd's attention is quickly grabbed when the female archer on screen pulls off a flawless dodge skill, instantly closing the distance to catch her opponent completely off guard with a high-tier ranger ability, before unleashing a devastating rain of arrows that completely obliterates his health bar to secure an easy victory, prompting GUC to praise our hero's perfect prediction while he calmly explains the winner's superior skill management, as the tournament screen reveals the champion is a level 15 ranger from the city's top guild, only for a toxic guildmate to suddenly show up and start mocking GUC for her low level, aggressively pointing her finger to call GUC a loser while dragging Mu Shen into the insults too, demanding she either step up to fight or publicly admit defeat and quit the guild forever. Despite the toxic crowd cheering for her downfall, GUC refuses to back down and vows to fight with dignity. She immediately turns to Mu Shen, begging her overpowered master for a quick coaching session over a midnight snack. Although he finds her cheap bribes hilarious, our hero reluctantly agrees to help her survive this incredibly lopsided match. Logging into the arena as a level 12 mage, Jiusi prepares to face her high-level opponent, but Mu Shen immediately facepalms after realizing she built her character like a tank just to wear cute shoes. As the countdown hits 0, the virtual arena gates open for this highly anticipated guild duel. Meanwhile, wealthy spectators watch from the VIP lounge, wondering how the toxic bullies would react to Jiusi's real-world status, prompting the smug guild president Qin Lang to casually dismiss his current girlfriend in favor of pursuing Jiusi instead. Back in the arena, the level 15 ranger immediately unleashes a swift arrow that takes a chunk of Jiusi's health, sending Mu Shen into a panic as he screams for her to dodge, only for her to stand there waiting for instructions. As 3 glowing arrows streak toward her, Mu Shen frantically yells for Jiusi to activate her shield, prompting her to cast a magic armor barrier just in time to absorb the brunt of the impact, though the heavy barrage instantly shatters her defense, leaving her completely exposed to the next assault. Seizing the opportunity, the smug ranger prepares her ultimate dragon arrow skill to finish the match, but Jiusi's ridiculously tanky build actually saves her life, allowing her to survive the heavy damage. Following her master's urgent command, she immediately retaliates by launching a massive fireball at her opponent, leaving the watching crowd in absolute shock as they eagerly debate who will survive this duel. And the explosive spell lands perfectly, scoring a massive critical hit that sets the ranger ablaze. Furious at being damaged by a low-level player, the burning archer begins charging a devastating lightning attack, while the spectators confidently declare that Jiusi's lucky streak is officially over against this high-tier skill. Mu Shen warns Jiusi that the opponent's next thunder arrow is lethal, ordering her to execute a precise defensive maneuver. Following his command, she summons a massive wall of ice thorns to shield herself from the incoming attack, which instantly breaks the enemy archer's line of sight and halts her deadly skill activation progress. While the frustrated archer struggles to lock on, Mu Shen calmly guides Jiusi to adjust her positioning, leaving the spectators in absolute awe of this brilliant tactical use of a basic mage spell. Despite the toxic archer's desperate trash talk, Jiusi prepares her counterattack with newfound confidence under her master's guidance, and right on Mu Shen's precise countdown, she readies her next spell to strike at 11 o'clock, unleashing a blinding flash of light that completely disorients her opponent and disrupts her deadly charge, sending the crowd into a frenzy as they wildly cheer for Jiusi's flawless, high-level timing. While Mu Shen urges her to keep up the pressure and seize this perfect window to finish the fight, this toxic archer panics as fireballs rain down, realizing that dodging now will waste her fully charged ultimate. Meanwhile, Mu Shen warns Jiusi that her passive trigger rate is low but urges her to try her luck anyway. Unfortunately, a devastating critical hit lands squarely on Jiusi, sending her health bar plunging to near zero. Refusing to let her give up, our hero commands her to spam her basic fireball spell until the very end. While the spectators assume the match is officially over, Jiusi's desperate attack suddenly triggers a rare passive effect. A massive storm of meteors rains down from the heavens, engulfing the arrogant archer in a sea of flames. Though she barely survives the onslaught, the smug archer laughs and prepares to deliver the final blow. But just as the crowd begins to mourn Jiusi's defeat, the system alerts them to an impossible miracle. Another consecutive meteor shower erupts from the sky, leaving the shocked opponent completely defenseless as the flames return, leaving the toxic bully to stare upward in absolute horror as her impending doom reflects in her eyes. This massive meteor shower erupts in a blinding explosion, completely engulfing the arena in flames. While the system initially declares a draw, the hyped crowd immediately erupts in protest, screaming that the match is not over yet as they wildly chant Jiusi's username. Turns out her gear triggered a rare life-saving effect, leaving her standing with exactly 1 health point, securing an impossible victory that leaves the entire stadium cheering for her legendary luck, while her toxic opponent can only stare in absolute disbelief at this humiliating defeat. Looking around the crowded venue, Jiusi eagerly searches for her mysterious master to thank him, only to receive a text from Mu Shen congratulating her before he casually logs off. Back home, our hero brushes his teeth while trying to call his busy archaeologist parents, before checking a message from Jiangwan confirming her team worked late to finish his quest. Logging back into the game, Mu Shen greets his guild and instructs Jiangwan to distribute the quest flowers, before pulling up the stats of his legendary Ice Phoenix Spirit Crystal to admire its massive buffs, realizing this overpowered treasure is the key to upgrading his skills and securing the guild's future. To strengthen his leadership, he officially promotes both Jiangwan and Shen to vice presidents, prompting the red-haired warrior to celebrate wildly while our hero quietly roasts his pay-to-win status. Suddenly, a heavily armored warrior approaches the group, instantly putting the entire squad on high alert as they recognize the famous Emperor of War, but notice his hostile guild tag is completely gone, leaving the crowd in absolute shock when a system alert confirms he just joined their guild. Mu Shen welcomes the powerful recruit with a handshake, already planning to exploit his valuable secrets. And with their roster fully stacked, the squad confidently marches toward the hidden Snow Forest altar. Mu Shen warns his guild that the Snow Forest altar is an incredibly dangerous hidden dungeon, leaving Jiangwan to highly suspect that his mysterious friend is actually insider info from the developers, while Shen gets distracted by a glowing, frozen statue of an old man praying nearby, completely ignoring the warnings as he casually taps the icy shoulder of the mysterious entity, which instantly triggers a deadly trap that shatters the ice and rapidly drains his health bar, prompting our hero to calmly step in and force-feed him one of those bitter quest flowers, which quickly restores his HP while Mu Shen lectures the group about touching random things, looking up the massive staircase to reveal dozens of these frozen, glowing victims, leaving their powerful new recruit deeply impressed by Mu Shen's incredible knowledge of this hidden zone. As our hero explains that these hollow shells are actually humans stripped of their souls and flesh, suddenly another teammate loses his mind and crashes straight into a frozen statue, shattering it to pieces, prompting Mu Shen to quickly order Jiangwan to cast her magic before the man's health completely drains. She immediately unleashes her red-tier soul imprisonment skill, freezing the panicked warrior in place to stop his self-destruction, allowing Shen to force-feed him a healing flower while the terrified victim swears he saw the statues move, but our hero calmly explains it is just a hallucination, instructing everyone to keep a flower in their mouth. Though the team loudly complains about the absolutely atrocious taste, they reluctantly comply as they march forward, eventually reaching the top of the stairs to find a massive, icy basin stretching out before them. This entire squad gasps in absolute horror at the sight of a colossal arena packed with thousands of frozen victims, only for Mu Shen to casually announce they must walk right through the terrifying crowd without dropping their flowers, leaving the nervous warriors to slowly navigate the silent, frozen army while praying none of them suddenly wake up. A sudden, freezing gale sweeps through the basin, causing the fragile ice statues to violently crack and shatter, while the panicked guild members desperately shield themselves from the flying shards of frozen human remains, leading them straight to a colossal, glowing altar gate that towers over the frozen wasteland, where a mysterious, caped entity materializes from the blue light to welcome the first living visitors in centuries, smiling as it recognizes the scent of their purification flowers and invites them to step inside, which instantly triggers a high-tier system quest to uncover the dark secrets of the Snow Forest altar. Mu Shen immediately orders his squad to accept the challenge, sending their powerful new recruit charging forward, only for a massive glowing magic circle to erupt beneath their feet as they step onto the platform, prompting Jiangwan to point in absolute terror as she notices a sudden, horrifying shift in the environment, because thousands of frozen human shells are suddenly standing up to surround them in the freezing dark. This panicked guild members realize their limited healing flowers will not save them from this massive, overwhelming horde, but before they can even plan a defense, the ground beneath them violently shakes, sending the entire altar plunging deep into the abyss while frozen bodies rain down around them. As the massive platform descends like a high-speed elevator into the pitch-black depths of the dungeon, a system notification pops up to reveal this creepy place is actually the birthplace of the demon god, explaining that those frozen shells are just the failed results of ancient, dark biological experiments. Promptly taking charge, Mu Shen organizes their formation to keep the squishier classes safely guarded in the middle, leading his squad into a dark, eerie corridor lined with rusted iron prison cells on both sides, which prompts a nervous Shen to joke that they just walked straight into a zombie apocalypse movie, though Mu Shen warns that if failed experiments are here, the terrifying finished products are definitely waiting ahead. Peer into the pitch-black corridor where a faint, glowing blue light signals an approaching threat, as a creepy, elongated hand with razor-sharp claws slowly reaches out from the shadows, revealing a level 18 elite backbone beast with high speed and a nasty habit of biting, prompting Mu Shen to warn his squad that dying here means no resurrection until they clear the floor. Suddenly, the agile monster lunges forward with terrifying speed, dodging their initial fire attacks, but the coordinated guild members quickly retaliate by unleashing a barrage of high-damage spells, landing a massive critical hit that completely blasts the creature back in a shower of sparks. As the smoking beast collapses lifelessly at our hero's feet, the threat seems temporarily neutralized, leading their smug new recruit to casually sheath his sword and declare the dungeon way too easy, only for Mu Shen to smile knowingly and warn him that the real nightmare is just beginning. This defeated monster suddenly begins to regenerate, prompting Mu Shen to target its longbone spur to stop the healing. A heavily armored warrior steps up to chop the spike off, confident he can end the beast once and for all, but his massive axe bounces right off the bone with a loud clang, proving far too hard to break, leaving him completely vulnerable as the regenerating monster immediately slashes him across the chest. Mu Shen quickly explains that ordinary weapons are useless, but continuous fire magic can easily soften the hardened bone, prompting their mages to rain down fireballs to weaken the target before delivering the final physical blow, only for their coordination to be cut short when a creepy green glow appears from the dark corridor behind them, revealing a massive horde of spine beasts crawling out of the shadows to completely surround the panicked guild. Chaos erupts as the monsters lunge forward, forcing Mu Shen to desperately scream for his mages to soften the spurs, while the overwhelmed warriors struggle to hold the line against the endless wave of deadly claws. Just when they thought the beasts were down, the monsters instantly resurrect and start crawling back up, turning this dungeon raid into a straight-up horror movie as they start aggressively gnawing on corpses. But before his panicked guild members can completely lose their minds, Mu Shen calmly steps forward, activating his mental energy to take absolute control of the battlefield with a massive blue aura, commanding his warlocks to shield the front line while unleashing a devastating wave of prairie fire, which he immediately doubles with a mirror image spell to rain absolute hellfire down on them, leaving the monsters severely burned and heavily debuffed as their movement speed completely tanks. With the bone spurs finally softened by the heat, a warrior charges in to slice them off, successfully neutralizing the beast's annoying regeneration ability and sending it crashing to the ground, allowing the hyped guild to rally together and easily sweep up the remaining weakened horde. Eager to test his skills, and Shen charges forward to try the assassin techniques Mu Shen taught him, remembering his master's warning that assassins lack recovery skills and should never fight enemies head-on, which requires them to act like ghosts in the shadows by utilizing speed to find weaknesses. Flashbacks of Mu Shen demonstrating his blinding speed remind him of the deadly blade technique, allowing the red-haired warrior to unleash a flurry of rapid slashes on the unsuspecting beast, keeping his focus entirely on the monster's movements while refusing to let his guard down, and by avoiding greed and moving flexibly, he easily dances around the creature's clumsy counterattacks. Before seizing the perfect opportunity to deliver a devastating critical strike that finishes it off, he immediately starts celebrating his solo victory, completely ignoring Mu Shen's frantic warning about the monsters behind him. Luckily, Jiang Wan deploys a massive ice shield just in time to save him from getting absolutely shredded. This rest of the squad quickly rallies to slice down the remaining beasts, finally clearing the immediate threat, prompting Mu Shen to immediately scold Shen for letting his guard down during a live raid. But their bickering is cut short when the system confirms the first level is cleared and resurrects their fallen allies. As the team catches their breath, they discuss these bizarre reincarnation monsters that are far tougher than normal mobs, leaving Jiang Wan to explain how crazy humans merge their own genes with evil spirits to create these abominations. While Shen freaks out over this moral collapse, our hero silently notes that the real apocalypse has not even started. With the first floor cleared, the squad marches deeper into the frozen abyss to face the next level, only to find a massive, glowing dial that will randomly determine the difficulty of their next challenge, which turns out to be rigged with almost nothing but high-level demon lords and legendary boss encounters, sending the red-haired warrior into a total panic as the rest of the guild curses their terrible luck. And Shen freaks out over the terrifying difficulty, realizing that facing a high-level demon lord is basically a death sentence. But Mu Shen calmly steps up to the glowing dial, instructing everyone to toss in a purification flower, which immediately registers him alongside legendary god-tier challengers on the system's massive leaderboard, triggering the ancient stone wheel to spin rapidly as it prepares to randomly select their next nightmare, while the red-haired warrior desperately prays for an easy boss, hoping they get a lucky draw, only for the needle to land with a heavy click on a winged, angelic silhouette. System alerts confirm their target is the black-winged golden crow, leaving our hero to question his life choices. Instantly, the squad is teleported straight into the burning cliff, a blindingly bright volcanic wasteland, where the extreme heat immediately starts melting their shoes and making it nearly impossible to breathe, before they look up to find 10 blazing suns scorching the sky in a legendary mythological nightmare. This squad looks out to find a massive army of spine beasts, instantly questioning if they are completely doomed. While the blonde recruit complains about their terrible luck drawing the absolute hardest difficulty setting on the wheel, but before they can even plan a defense, the blazing suns overhead begin to glow with terrifying intensity, unleashing a massive wave of pure heat that instantly incinerates the entire monster horde in a split second, leaving the stunned guild members to watch the ashes scatter as their enemies are completely wiped out. As a massive, glowing avian silhouette materializes in the sky to warn these foolish mortals to leave immediately, this sweating warriors desperately point out that they were teleported here and literally have no way to escape, prompting Mu Shen to boldly step forward and challenge the legendary beast for falling into dark depravity, which only angers the boss further, unleashing a blast of heat that literally sets their allies' hair on fire, before a blinding flash of golden light erupts to signal the start of a truly legendary boss battle. A stunning, fiery warrior with glowing red eyes emerges from the blinding light as their ultimate opponent, and the system window reveals she is the legendary Black Feather Golden Crow, a high-tier demon lord. But instead of preparing for battle, the male guild members instantly fall in love with her gorgeous design, which only insults the powerful entity as she raises her spear to punish the foolish mortals, unleashing a massive, sweeping wave of pure fire that completely engulfs the entire battlefield in seconds, leaving the distracted warriors to scream in agony as their health bars take a massive hit, while a terrifying burn debuff begins to rapidly drain their life and double all incoming damage. As the blonde recruit marvels at her power, Mu Shen calmly notes this is just a weakened dungeon version, before ordering his panic squad to scatter and attack before the burning effect instantly kills them all, only for their desperate counterattacks to deal pathetic double-digit damage, leaving the entire team completely demoralized. Mu Shen facepalms and warns his squad to stop using fire attacks against a fire-resistant boss, but then he immediately unleashes his own fire spells to deal massive damage to her, leaving his confused squad to ask if he is cheating while he smugly claims they are just different. Suddenly, the fiery boss takes flight, leaving the melee fighters completely unable to reach her. Floating high above, she begins channeling a massive golden flame storm to incinerate the entire battlefield, which instantly inflicts a deadly burn debuff that rapidly drains the panicked guild's health every second. Declaring that mere mortals cannot challenge a god, she dives down with her spear to finish them off, prompting our hero to quickly order his mages to unleash Frost Dance to counter her heat. This icy spell lands a direct hit, freezing her wings and dealing massive damage to the shock boss. This only enrages her further as she prepares to unleash the true power of her flames. This intense heat completely engulfs the guild members, leaving them screaming in agony as their health drops, prompting Mu Shen to desperately order his squad to scatter and attack before the burn debuff finishes them. But the fiery boss easily blocks their icy counterattacks as her health bar drops to a critical threshold, triggering her ultimate Burning Heart skill to unleash the full devastating wrath of the gods upon them. Realizing the danger, our hero frantically commands everyone to immediately visualize their dream woman to bypass the mechanism, sending the male guild members into a hilarious daydream about their favorite models and anime teachers, while Mu Shen tells a confused Jiangwan to just think of him to survive the incoming blast, before a blinding golden explosion erupts across the entire battlefield to test their mental resolve. Although the massive attack drains their health, the squad successfully survives the deadly strike thanks to their distractions, only for Mu Shen to collapse in agony as the spell triggers tragic, painful memories of his lost family. Drowning in the agonizing memories of his lost parents, Mu Shen desperately tries to shift his focus to something happy, and his mind immediately conjures up Jiang Wan, who gently asks if he is doing all right. Reaching out to his mental savior, he visualizes her as a comforting angel telling him not to fear, finding solace as they hold hands in the middle of this blinding mental storm. While she promises to always be by his side to help him overcome his deepest trauma, this heartwarming distraction works like a charm, allowing our hero to snap back to reality with a glare, leaving the blonde recruit shocked he recovered so fast, while Jiang Wan smugly admits she did the same, though she immediately starts teasing him for taking so long to think of her during the crisis. Shaking off the banter, Mu Shen explains the boss's deadly mental trap before rallying the squad to shatter her shield, leading to a massive coordinated strike that completely breaks her defenses as the excited recruits cheer them on. While Shen blushes in embarrassment, the guild admits their survival strategy involves some highly questionable thoughts, leaving the fiery boss absolutely flabbergasted that a bunch of mere mortals somehow broke her ultimate divine skill. Turns out, the guys survived by visualizing some incredibly spicy, adulterated content that is definitely not suitable for children, which only disgust the powerful goddess as she screams at them for using such shameless tactics to disrespect her, unleashing a massive wave of explosive fire that sends the terrified warriors flying in every direction. She smugly tells them to learn their place, completely convinced that mere ants can never match a god, only to gasp in shock as a sudden wave of ice freezes her legs solid, allowing Mu Shen and his clone to step up and remind her that even gods can bleed, before activating his Hand of Death skill to double his damage and unleash a devastating critical strike, triggering a massive chain of explosive damage numbers that completely shreds the boss's remaining health bar. Mu Shen's massive explosion deals insane damage, leaving the guild absolutely stunned by his overpowered stats. Inspired by his lead, the rest of the squad charges in to finish off the weakened boss, before Mu Shen and his clone unleash a barrage of icy critical hits that completely freeze her, leaving the goddess utterly shocked as her shield shatters and she questions how mere mortals defeated her. And with her health bar completely depleted, she collapses to her knees in absolute defeat. Mu Shen steps forward to lecture her, calling out the gods for sacrificing humanity to satisfy their own selfish desires, but she just laughs maniacally, claiming that strength is the only truth while the guild senses something is off. Suddenly, a dark aura erupts from her body as she accuses our hero of harboring an impure power himself, prompting a mysterious blue crystal to fly out of his inventory and head straight toward her, which Mu Shen immediately recognizes as the Ice Phoenix Spirit Crystal, realizing she is triggering a terrifying stage awakening. This fiery boss panics as the glowing crystal drains her power, while Mu Shen smugly promises to turn her into ashes, unleashing a terrifyingly dark aura as he vows to drag every last god down from their holy altars. And with the absorption complete, the legendary crystal floats back into our hero's hand as he eagerly awaits his next challenge. Meanwhile, the blonde recruit watches in confusion, wondering why these dungeon bosses are always so incredibly dramatic. But Mu Shen is too busy admiring his newly upgraded legendary crystal, which now boasts a ridiculous self-resurrection skill. Before they can celebrate, the system confirms the level is cleared and teleports the entire squad away in a flash of light, bringing them face to face with a massive, terrifying stone gate that supposedly guards the dungeon's final boss, which slowly begins to rumble and creak open, preparing to unleash whatever nightmare is waiting inside. Meanwhile, out in the real-world Kunlun Mountains, a scientific expedition team debates what to do with a giant ice phoenix sculpture, leaving rescue leader Jai Wei to stubbornly insist on taking it, completely ignoring warnings that the statue literally moved last night. Panic erupts as a researcher screams that the ancient centipede has escaped because of a rescue member's mistake, prompting Jai Wei to laugh mockingly in the background while the scientists freak out over the disaster. But a calm voice inside the tent suggests they simply head back into the secret passage to find more, leaving the researchers hesitant to return until Jai Wei openly mocks their courage to force their hand, as he orders his men to help catch some prehistoric bugs for the terrified scientific team. secretly plotting to secure the frozen centipedes for his own hidden agenda whether the doctor cooperates or not. With their flashlights cutting through the darkness, the group cautiously steps into the freezing cavern, marching deeper into the eerie silence of the abyss as water slowly drips from the icy ceiling. Jai Wei warns everyone to stay alert as they approach the exact spot where the creature was first discovered, before quietly checking his revolver to ensure his men are armed and ready for whatever lies ahead. While the scientists warn that damaging the fragile ice cave will bury them all alive, Jai Wei mocks their cowardice, but his smug attitude vanishes instantly when a sudden movement in the shadows catches his eye, raising his revolver into the pitch-black cavern as eerie dripping sounds echo all around them. Before he panics and fires wildly into the dark, screaming that they are definitely not alone. Meanwhile, Mu Shen's squad is teleported to a grotesque altar where a massive, pulsating purple heart awaits, leaving the disgusted guild members to stare at the alien-like organ throbbing with dark energy, prompting our hero to quickly organize his forces, assigning specific roles to counter this high-level threat. As the warriors step forward to toss their purification flowers directly into the glowing ritual beam, only for a massive, scaly claw to suddenly burst through the flesh of the pulsating cocoon, shattering their hopes of an easy fight as the terrifying demon god begins to tear its way out. This terrified guild members watch in absolute horror as a massive shadow begins to emerge from the cocoon, revealing a colossal, scaly elite monster that lets out a deafening roar to announce its terrifying arrival, while a system window pops up to reveal its absurdly high stats and complete immunity to crowd control. This insane defense stat instantly demoralizes the squad, leaving them questioning if they should even bother fighting, but Mu Shen refuses to back down, ordering his assassin to find the remaining unreleased ritual beams. While the rest of the team unleashes a desperate barrage that barely scratches the beast's thick hide, prompting the furious monster to retaliate with blinding speed, its glowing red eyes locking onto its prey, before it easily swats the panic-stricken warriors aside like flies, completely shattering their fragile frontline defense. As the beast ruthlessly thrashes the helpless guild members, they desperately scream that this fight is absolutely impossible. Until the red-haired assassin finally locates the last beam and tosses his purification flower inside to save them. As the final purification beam erupts, the red-haired assassin successfully triggers the ritual to weaken the beast, prompting Mu Shen to praise his quick thinking as the radiant blue energy wraps around their target, which instantly shreds the colossal monster's defense stats, leaving it completely vulnerable to their incoming attacks. Seizing the golden opportunity, our hero strikes with a powerful fire spell while commanding his squad to unleash everything, leading to a chaotic barrage of elemental magic that rains down on the restrained beast from all sides. But even Mu Shen's massive explosive strikes only seem to chip away at its absurdly high health pool, leaving him to realize their current firepower is still far too weak to finish the job in time. Especially since the furious boss still has over 400,000 health points left as it roars through the flames. Gritting his teeth, our hero desperately orders the entire guild to push past their limits for one final push, only for the massive monster to shatter its restraints, forcing Mu Shen to frantically warn his frontline to retreat. This boss unleashes its devastating disaster skill, instantly incinerating their purification flowers and boosting its stats, leaving a terrified recruit completely cornered as the massive beast roars directly in his face, while its colossal shadow looms over the panicked guild members who are utterly powerless to stop it. Shouting over the chaos, Mu Shen orders everyone to scatter and draw aggro until the next ritual wave spawns, but their desperate attacks barely scratch the monster's thick hide as it shrugs off their explosive spells, proving that standard physical and elemental damage will not do anything against its absurdly high defense stats. Even a heavy sword charge from their strongest melee fighter only manages to chip away 19 points, confirming that they absolutely must reactivate the binding mechanism if they want to survive this raid, only for their despair to deepen as the boss begins rapidly regenerating its massive health bar. Luckily, the light beams finally reappear, prompting the squad to frantically rush forward with their remaining purification flowers. Mu Shen frantically commands his squad to hold their ground as the boss triggers a devastating disaster skill, preparing his own fiery counterattack while bracing himself for a grueling, high-stakes war of attrition. Meanwhile, outside the frozen dungeon gates, onlookers wonder how much longer our heroes can survive the trial, especially since a powerful level 15 player named Mozifa is keeping a close eye on them, listening to his subordinates speculate about the legendary rewards Mu Shen's squad might be hoarding inside. This gossip only annoys the purple-haired leader, who shuts down his talkative minion with a terrifying glare, demanding to know how a mere low-level rookie managed to recruit such high-profile guild presidents. Before summoning a flame in his hand and ordering his men to prepare a deadly ambush, determined to prove that Mu Shen's lucky streak is finally coming to a very painful end. 1 hour later, our exhausted heroes finally chip the boss's health bar down to its absolute limit. Mu Shen pants in exhaustion, realizing their buffed firepower still is not enough to secure a victory, especially since the terrifying boss still has 50,000 health points left and looks completely unstoppable, leaving them with only one final purification flower to trigger the 10th and last beam. But before they can strike, a blinding flash of energy erupts as the beast prepares its ultimate move, sending a wave of absolute dread through our hero as he realizes they are out of time, triggering a devastating soul drain skill that instantly freezes the entire squad in their tracks, leaving the helpless warriors to watch their life force slowly wither away as they turn into glowing blue husks. Even Mu Shen is caught in the unavoidable trap, utterly devastated that all their hard work ended in total annihilation. Until Jiang Wan's comforting voice echoes in his mind, gently reminding him that a setback is just a chance to restart, helping him overcome his crushing guilt as she reassures him that the guild will always trust his leadership. Jiang Wan's gentle words echo in his mind, reminding him that they are much more than just allies, which forces Mu Shen to reflect on his selfish motives for recruiting them in the first place. But his eyes snap open with a fierce determination to protect the people who trust him. Meanwhile, the rest of the squad remains completely frozen in place like helpless statues, leaving them entirely at the mercy of the massive boss as it looms over them, ready to crush the helpless warriors and end their raid once and for all. Until a sudden burst of freezing energy catches the colossal beast completely off guard, as a massive glowing ice egg suddenly materializes right in front of our hero, triggering his legendary Frost Nirvana skill to shatter the deadly soul drain effect, allowing Mu Shen to burst out of the ice fully revived and ready for vengeance. Mu Shen stands tall, channeling a surge of divine power that he never possessed in his previous life, while the colossal boss glares back with glowing red eyes, completely unaware of the beatdown heading its way. But as the beast swings its massive arm, our hero calmly warns it that panic only hastens death, activating his psychic inspiration skill to coordinate a plan while ordering his ally to place the final flower. With a sudden burst of speed, he distracts the monster, allowing his teammate to slip past and activate the mechanism, sending a barrage of glowing blue energy chains shooting across the battlefield to bind their target, which successfully locks the beast in place while boosting their magic attack power by a whopping 100%. Seizing the moment, Mu Shen unleashes a devastating fiery blast that deals massive damage to the restrained monster, raining down a relentless barrage of explosive spells that rapidly chip away at its remaining health pool, before summoning a massive icy spear to execute his ultimate phantom dance skill and end this raid once and for all. Mu Shen leaps forward to strike the boss, dedicating this massive blow to his beloved Jiang Wanner, before crossing his arms to channel another wave of devastating magic with absolute focus, slicing through the monster with a glowing blue blade as a tribute to the dark god, only to smugly summon a swirling vortex of fire to show off his superior wizard skills, which he immediately blasts directly down the beast's throat in honor of the kill god, unleashing a massive meteor shower to force the entire Valley of the Gods to pay their debts. With a cheeky finger heart, our hero celebrates as the system confirms the boss is officially dead, but his victory is cut short when a mysterious glowing entity slowly floats down from above, leaving Mu Shen completely baffled since this secret encounter never happened in his previous life, especially when the spirit warns that the dark power hidden inside him is far from ordinary. This mysterious glowing spirit mocks Mu Shen's impatience, asking why he is in such a rush to dismiss it. It cryptically urges him to visit Winter City to uncover the truth about his own identity, leaving our hero completely stunned as he wonders if some supreme god is pulling the strings from above. He resolves to uncover these deep secrets, realizing this apocalyptic world is far weirder than he ever imagined. Suddenly, a system notification flashes to announce the dungeon is cleared, instantly resurrecting the entire bewildered squad, who immediately erupt in wild cheers upon realizing their president actually pulled off the impossible victory, prompting his emotional teammates to tackle him with tearful hugs while he desperately begs for personal space. But Mu Shen quickly redirects their excitement, telling them to stop gossiping and prepare for their hard-earned rewards, as the system begins calculating their final dungeon scores based on their performance against the Spine Beast, revealing solid ratings for the squad while awarding Mu Shen a mind-blowing, god-tier SSS-level personal rank. Mu Shen is absolutely thrilled to receive an SSS-level rank, realizing his carry potential was truly unmatched, as the system showers him with millions of experience points and a rare cross-professional skill book, forcing our hero to desperately hold back a smug laugh to keep his cool leader persona intact. Meanwhile, his teammates happily check their own massive rewards while planning to log off and rest. But as the exhausted squad teleports back outside the dungeon, the red-haired assassin senses immediate danger, activating his passive detection radar to reveal a massive army of players surrounding their exact location, right before a deadly volley of arrows rains down on them from the snowy cliffs above, prompting Mu Shen to instantly order his frontline warriors to raise their massive sword shields for protection, which barely absorb the heavy damage as the furious guild members curse their cowardly ambushers, leaving Jiang Wanner to warn him about the enemy mages while they desperately prepare to fight back. Mu Shen quickly coordinates a counter-strategy through the guild chat, assigning specific roles to break the enemy's ambush. Following his orders, the heavily armored warriors charge forward to lock down the enemy archers, while the red-haired assassin slips into stealth as the rest of the core squad rushes ahead. Meanwhile, the arrogant purple-haired leader mocks Mu Shen for thinking he can take on 100 players, ordering his mages to unleash a barrage of fire spells to wipe out the vanguard first, which forces one of Mu Shen's allies to leap high into the air to dodge the explosions, prompting the enemy leader to laugh maniacally while ordering his entire squad to focus fire on the airborne target. But our hero remains completely unfazed, his eyes glowing as he prepares to unleash a devastating counterattack, summoning a massive, swirling vortex of heavenly fire that instantly incinerates the screaming ambushers, leaving the terrified enemy leader completely speechless as he realizes Mu Shen's power makes absolutely no sense. This ambushers instantly regret their life choices as they burn alive, screaming about how unfair this counterattack is. while their purple-haired leader panics over Mu Shen's hidden skills, desperately ordering his remaining men to charge, prompting a stealthy assassin to leap from the shadows in a desperate bid to take our hero's head, only for the guild's top killer to instantly intercept the strike, saving Mu Shen with a brutal backstab. Meanwhile, Jiang Wanner coordinates their defensive line, reminding everyone that they stand together as a true team, which unleashes a devastating wave of magic that completely obliterates the enemy's frontlines in seconds, leaving the surviving ambushers to watch in absolute horror as a rain of fire consumes their entire squad. Mozifa stands frozen in disbelief as his perfect plan crumbles while his terrified minions beg to retreat. But escape is already impossible, especially with a cold blade suddenly pressed against the arrogant leader's throat, as our deadly ally coldly mocks his pathetic begging before preparing to deliver a very permanent death penalty. This red-haired assassin easily subdues Mozifa, instantly shutting down his arrogant threats with a cold blade, leaving the terrified leader to fall to his knees while his remaining minions run for their lives. Mu Shen and his allies calmly surround the pathetic boss, discussing his history of forcing players into death squads, before jokingly suggesting they repeatedly eliminate and heal him just to teach him a very painful lesson. Meanwhile, the journey continues into the snowy wilderness of Fengaming Road as the squad advances to the next phase, where a massive level 20 snow tiger blocks their path, growling with glowing red eyes and pure malice. But the beast is instantly blasted by a devastating spell, taking a massive critical hit right to the face, which a twin-tailed mage casually watches from the sidelines, dryly noting how much that attack must have hurt. She wonders when they will finally reach Winter City to claim the legendary SSS-level rewards waiting for them, until her teammate arrives to report that the entire squad is fully repaired and ready to set off. Mu Shen explains they must rush to Winter City to secure their massive SSS-level advantage, advising his team to skip the harder hidden tasks for now and get some well-deserved rest. Left alone, our hero checks his status screen and realizes his massive experience pool could easily break level 15, but he decides to dump those points into upgrading his ridiculously expensive Hand of Death skill instead, sacrificing 5 million experience points in an instant and triggering a sudden violent gust of freezing wind, which makes him wonder if upgrading this Grim Reaper power is already causing some serious trouble. Meanwhile, a massive blizzard suddenly hits Fengaming Road, blinding the local players and forcing them to scramble for cover, as the freezing storm rages on at the absolute worst possible time before the 4th stage, prompting a nearby squad huddling around a campfire to complain about their stubborn leader's refusal to cooperate, while that very same red-haired warrior stands in the freezing cold, sensing that something is deeply wrong. This red-haired warrior warns that 2 legendary wild monsters are currently slumbering along Fengaming Road, leaving the rest of the squad sweating over how they can possibly survive such a brutal encounter, especially since these beasts are natural enemies whose inevitable clash will turn the battlefield into absolute chaos. Meanwhile, Mu Shen successfully upgrades his Hand of Death skill, though a cryptic warning leaves him slightly uneasy, prompting him to open a legendary treasure box that showers him with gold, reputation, and rare materials. He practically drools over the legendary loot, realizing he finally has the materials to upgrade his dragon armor, before dumping his remaining experience to hit level 14 and calling it a night to prepare for Winter City. Meanwhile, in the real world, the desperate owner of the Madman Club tries to guilt-trip his loyal secretary, lamenting how his elite squad was completely obliterated on Fengaming Road while his entire life savings went down the drain, leaving him with no choice but to plot a shady alliance with a rival guild to save his skin. Inside a bustling, neon-lit nightclub in Tanking City, the local elite are busy drowning their sorrows, where a desperate guild leader tries to secure an alliance with a wealthy, arrogant heir named Qin Lang, who openly mocks his rivals for letting a single player like Mu Shen completely ruin their operations, prompting a cunning female player to immediately cozy up to the rich playboy to secure her own future, which works like a charm as he kicks everyone else out to enjoy her company in private, leaving the scheming guild leader thrilled that his honey trap succeeded in securing a powerful new backer. Meanwhile, in the real world, a pair of hands lifts heavy dumbbells during an intense workout session, as Mu Shen takes a quick breather to check his phone for any updates on the forums, only to stumble upon a shocking breaking news report about a devastating avalanche at Kunlun Mountain, sending his heart racing in absolute panic upon realizing his own father is among the missing scientists. Mu Shen stares at his phone in absolute shock, realizing this sudden avalanche never happened in his previous life. He wonders if his father's disappearance is somehow connected to the legendary ice phoenix he encountered in the game. Suddenly, his phone rings with a call from his parents, who casually assure him that they survived the disaster. His mother cheerfully promises to pick him up soon, completely ignoring the gravity of their near-death experience, leaving our hero utterly exasperated by her bizarre attitude, though he is deeply relieved they are safe. Meanwhile, at the snowy mountains, his father reveals the avalanche was just a cover-up to hide a massive discovery, showing a secret cavern filled with mysterious frozen bodies that could change the fate of the entire world. Back in his room, Mu Shen finally lies down to rest when another late-night message buzzes on his phone, revealing a text from Jiang Jiu that makes him wonder what she could possibly want at this hour, only to freeze in shock when she asks to join his city while sharing a picture of a legendary material. Mu Shen stares at the map fragment in disbelief, shocked that Jiang Jiu managed to find such a rare item, especially since this legendary artifact supposedly marks the exact location where a powerful evil demon fell. But he quickly forces himself to play it cool, determined not to let her manipulate him so easily. Still, the sheer difficulty of navigating this delicate situation has our hero sweating bullets over his phone, realizing that meeting her in-game to secure the map might completely expose his real-life identity. After recommending a local server, he dramatically laments how his own god-tier looks always cause him so much trouble. Meanwhile, in her high-rise apartment, Jiang Jiu gazes out at the city skyline while clutching her phone, deeply frustrated that Mu Shen continues to hide the truth about his mysterious apocalyptic warnings. She looks at a picture of his close ally, quietly wondering if she can even compete with her beauty. This next morning, the squad reunites in-game to prepare for their next raid, completely amazed by Mu Shen's rapid leveling. Mu Shen playfully calls out his red-haired ally for just wanting to watch the chaotic drama unfold, while a sudden system announcement warns everyone that the legendary Ice Phoenix and Frost Dragon have finally awakened, prompting our hero to lead his squad directly into the danger zone to unlock his next god-tier skill. Meanwhile, a struggling squad of female warriors gathers in the freezing blizzard to discuss their desperate situation, realizing they cannot afford to fall behind other players who are already reaching level 25. So they rally their spirits and draw their weapons, determined to fight their way to Winter City. As they march forward, the blinding snowstorm completely masks the deadly threats lurking right in front of them, until a massive, screeching Ice Phoenix Dapeng suddenly swoops down from the sky to ambush the startled group, forcing the girls to quickly raise their shields against the level 30 elite monster's devastating power. But the ground suddenly begins to violently shake, signaling that an even bigger nightmare is rushing up from below. A level 30 Frost Dragon suddenly lunges forward, biting down hard on the squad's orange-haired leader. But before the beast can finish her off, a massive Ice Phoenix swoops down to intercept it, sparking a brutal clash between the two natural enemies as they tear into each other, which forces the terrified warrior to scramble backward to avoid getting crushed by their thrashing tails. She desperately runs back to her squad, urging everyone to retreat while the monsters are distracted, but escaping is easier said than done as the beasts unleash devastating blasts of freezing energy. To make matters worse, a whole army of massive frost dragons suddenly emerges from the snowy cliffs, while a massive flock of ice phoenixes fills the sky, completely surrounding the players in a war zone. This two legendary factions clash with absolute fury, raining down a deadly storm of ice and debris, turning the entire snowy pass into a chaotic battlefield where survival seems completely impossible. One of the struggling players gets blasted backward by a massive hit, leaving his teammates in absolute panic, as the cornered squad realizes they are completely surrounded by monsters with absolutely no way to escape. But just as they prepare for the worst, a brilliant golden light suddenly erupts from the sky above them, unleashing a massive wave of apocalyptic fire that instantly incinerates the entire army of legendary beasts. While Mu Shen's core squad charges into the chaotic battlefield to easily harvest the remaining experience points, with the once terrifying monsters completely blown to pieces, turning the deadly warzone into a total joke in seconds, leaving the rescued female warriors staring in absolute disbelief at the sheer scale of this overwhelming power, before they instantly recognize our hero, whispering in awe about the legendary player who rejected every top guild, prompting Mu Shen to casually accept their thanks, remembering their squad was actually quite famous in his past life. And before he can even walk away, their leader eagerly begs to join his guild to fight by his side. Mu Shen dumps the tedious recruitment duties onto his red-haired ally, who happily welcomes their new teammates, as a flood of system notifications officially registers the entire female squad into their growing guild. With his army expanded, our hero calculates the final rare materials needed to fully awaken his deadly scythe, leading his massive squad to the 5th stage of Fengaming Road 3 days later as everyone celebrates, only to halt at a stunning frozen lake that marks the final barrier before their destination. Checking his legendary quest progress, our hero realizes he must wait for the next dungeon to trigger. System warnings quickly reveal that a terrifying, instackle water monster lurks beneath the deceptively beautiful ice, prompting our confident hero to assure his worried ally that only they can safely bypass this mechanism, while a rival guild watches from the snowy cliffs, plotting to steal the glory for themselves, activating a high-level stealth talisman to launch a sneaky ambush on Mu Shen before he can react. Meanwhile, the rival Black Dragon Palace Guild watches from above, praying for Mu Shen's team to get wiped out. But our hero's red-haired ally is way too confident, boasting about memorizing the safety route across the lake, only to immediately mess up his jumps as he tries to navigate the shifting ice platforms, leaving him standing there with a completely blank face after forgetting the very next step of his plan. He desperately begs Mu Shen not to abandon him to a terrifying solo walk back from the graveyard, prompting our capable leader to take charge and guide the entire squad safely across the glowing path, until a sudden magical projectile streaks through the air, catching the clueless red-haired warrior completely off guard, forcing their blonde knight to quickly raise his shield to intercept the devastating sneak attack, which shatters his defense and inflicts heavy damage as the hidden rivals launch their full ambush, knocking the defender backward onto a forbidden red ice flow that threatens to trigger the lake's instant-kill mechanism. This frozen lake violently agitates as the forbidden mechanism triggers, sending panicked players slipping into the freezing water. Mu Shen quickly realizes a sneaky rival assassin used a high-level stealth rune to bypass his passive detection. Suddenly, the entire icy surface erupts in a massive explosion of razor-sharp frozen shards, unleashing a terrifying nine-headed water dragon with a massive 95% damage immunity guarding the city path, while the colossal beast charges up its glowing elemental energy to obliterate the helpless intruders. It unleashes a devastating torrent of freezing water that completely swallows the entire squad in an instant, leaving the helpless players to get absolutely obliterated by the overwhelming power of the legendary Guardian, forcing them to immediately respawn at the nearby resurrection point while shivering from the brutal defeat. Fortunately, Mu Shen's special regional perks instantly restore his health before he calls out their hidden saboteurs, prompting a stealthy pink-haired assassin to finally reveal herself from the shadows to confront the legendary leader. This arrogant Black Dragon Hall guild steps forward, led by a smug girl ready to claim the area, but Mu Shen remains completely unfazed as his rivals whisper about his legendary reputation, secretly planning to take down their leader despite the massive level disadvantage of his own squad, while the twin-tailed girl demands a public apology, mocking him for thinking he owns the server. She sarcastically thanks him for clearing the path before ordering her squad to finish them off, prompting our hero's hot-headed ally to draw his sword and declare a fight to the death. A massive hammer-wielding brute from the rival guild immediately steps up to crush the challengers, yet the clever girl hesitates, realizing a chaotic brawl might trigger the deadly water monster again. So she steps forward to propose a much cleaner solution to settle their dispute, challenging Mu Shen to a high-stakes one-on-one duel that our confident hero is more than happy to accept. Mu Shen kicks off the duel by launching a blazing fireball directly at his opponent, but the spell collides with a massive counterattack, triggering a spectacular explosion in midair, only for a high-damage purple sniper arrow to pierce right through the flames toward him, forcing our hero to quickly dive behind a tree to chug a healing potion, while the smug twin-tailed archer draws her bow again to mock his desperate hiding spot, leaving Mu Shen to brace himself as a deadly countdown begins ticking down to 1. A devastating beam of pink energy suddenly tears right through his cover, nearly taking him out, which leaves his watching allies sweating bullets over how insanely powerful this rival archer actually is, as her guildmates boast that her legendary homing attack is far from over. And indeed, Mu Shen looks back in horror to find the arrow's energy still burning bright. Mu Shen desperately dodges as the pink energy arrow suddenly splits into 3 homing projectiles. A system window reveals her legendary Heartbreak skill has a guaranteed hit rate and a freeze effect, forcing our hero to quickly summon a psychic clone to absorb the devastating impact in his place. Although his clone is instantly shredded to near zero health, Mu Shen secretly smiles after discovering her main weakness, while the smug archer prepares her next ultimate strike, mocking him for wasting his defensive skills so early. Our hero suddenly leaps out from his cover, sprinting directly toward her at breakneck speed, catching the girl off guard as she realizes he is trying to interrupt her incredibly long charge time. But she confidently releases her arrow anyway, convinced that even an incomplete shot will easily finish him off. Suddenly, a blinding flash of blue energy descends from above, completely deflecting her deadly projectile away from him, leaving the shocked archer staring in disbelief while Mu Shen smirks, having completely outplayed her entire strategy. Mu Shen unleashes a massive mountain shaking strike, shocking the crowd as they realize a mage is using a warrior skill. He smugly reveals his secret cross-class skill reward from completing the Snow Forest altar with an SSS rating, leaving the floating archer to desperately warn him that her homing arrow is still tracking his main body. But her confidence instantly shatters when she realizes his real body has already vanished from her sight. Before she can even react, our hero suddenly materializes right behind her to completely shut down her escape, grabbing the startled girl in a tight lock, while her own homing projectile comes screaming back toward them, which prompts Mu Shen to casually use his opponent as a human shield to block her own ultimate attack. With her health bar reduced to just 4 points, he whispers a demand for her surrender while she blushes furiously, and since she stubbornly refuses to yield, our hero delivers a swift spank to teach her a lesson, sending her guildmates into an absolute rage while Mu Shen's allies cheer wildly for his hilarious victory. Mu Shen demands an apology while delivering a swift smack to teach the stubborn girl a lesson, but she stubbornly refuses to yield, earning herself another hilarious hit to her pride, leaving the massive crowd of onlookers watching the bizarre punishment in absolute jaw-dropping shock. She bursts into tears, sobbing that even her own father has never treated her this way, which sends her furious guildmates into an absolute rage as they scream to defend their goddess. Realizing she has no other choice, the crying archer finally swallows her pride and tearfully apologizes, prompting our hero's allies to joke about his ruthless methods while the rival guild fumes, leaving the deeply embarrassed girl to sob quietly while her teammates try to comfort her. Mu Shen casually shifts back to business, suggesting they cooperate to cross the dangerous frozen lake first, and she reluctantly agrees, though she fiercely promises to challenge him to a rematch in 3 days. Mu Shen and the stubborn archer finalize their high-stakes bet. With a month of maid service on the line and 3 days later, the squad finally arrives at the breathtaking, snow-covered fortress of Winter City, where elite NPC guards instantly salute our hero thanks to his legendary reputation, leaving his allies completely awestruck. A massive flood of SSS-level system notifications suddenly erupts, showering Mu Shen in ridiculous amounts of gold, experience, and rare loot. prompting our generous leader to urge his excited squad to go ahead and upgrade their classes first. While the system notes that the world's civilization progress must advance further to unlock global city travel, but Mu Shen casually pulls out a legendary quick transfer scroll to bypass the tedious class change quests entirely, opening up 3 incredibly powerful hidden class options that would make any normal player drool. And he immediately locks onto the Talisman Master, a ridiculously expensive class he could never afford in his past life, until a flash of golden light confirms his successful transfer, unlocking a set of devastating new elemental spells. His new class grants him the 5 Elements skill, allowing him to cycle through powerful elemental talismans, while unlocking even more advanced techniques like the Frost-Killing Formation and Divine Lightning Flash, including the devastating Wanfu Festival skill that grants him temporary invincibility and massive area of effect damage. To make things even more broken, he also gains a multi-charge teleportation skill called God of Thunder, prompting our hero to immediately use a high-level scroll to upgrade his demon-killing talisman to +10, boosting his magic attack to a ridiculous level that completely eclipses any ordinary mage in the game. With his upgrades complete, Mu Shen wanders through the bustling streets of Winter City to plan his next move, eventually tracking down a local reputation merchant to unlock some exclusive high-tier quests and rewards, only for the gruff, pipe-smoking NPC to look down on him with absolute disdain and skepticism. However, Mu Shen casually flexes his massive reputation score, instantly forcing the arrogant merchant to beg for his favor. Mu Shen browses the merchant's quest board, only to find 3 identical high-difficulty options, but the merchant suddenly stops him, offering a secret high-tier quest that triggers a special intimacy prompt. He hands over a carved piece of jade, directing our hero to find a dangerous woman named Auguste. While inspecting the jade, Mu Shen prepares to head north to track down this new contact, only to suddenly remember that Auguste was a legendary, bloodthirsty boss who terrorized players in his past life. He stares back at the merchant in absolute horror, realizing he just accepted a total death sentence, while the smug old man casually puffs his pipe, completely unbothered by sending him to his doom, leaving our hero to wonder if these NPCs are secretly sentient players pulling his strings from the shadows. Shaking off the dread, he heads deeper into the massive, frozen spires of the city to find another lead, and quickly accepts a much simpler quest from a local blacksmith to recover a stolen legendary sword. This system announces that the world's overall progress has finally reached 2%, unlocking a massive wave of new features, and the server's leaderboard reveals a mysterious top-ranked assassin named Ci Tian holding a legendary +15 weapon, which instantly sends the world chat into an absolute frenzy over how anyone could achieve such a ridiculous upgrade, leaving jealous players to cry about unfairness and accuse this mysterious genius of using cheats to break the game. Meanwhile, Mu Shen just smiles, glad he hid his own identity to avoid becoming an easy target for envious rivals, while his guildmates loudly celebrate their successful class changes in the chat as night falls over the city, prompting our hero to quietly shake his head at his allies' incredibly loud and hyperactive personality. He quickly takes charge of the chat, ordering everyone to prepare for the upcoming high-stakes survival challenge in 2 days, before sitting back to enjoy the stunning, moonlit view of Winter City's beautiful snowy streets. But far away in the real world, the villainous Jai Wei is finally dragged off to prison by the arbitration court. This old man in the wheelchair celebrates the traitor getting caught trying to sell the ancient centipede to enemies, while his colleagues agree that a broken leg in prison is actually a merciful punishment for his greed, especially since rival nations were willing to throw over $100 million just to get their hands on it. But as they walk through the high-tech lab, the team admits their research has hit a massive dead end, struggling to unlock the secrets of a coiled centipede with armor stronger than iron and some mysterious ice statues, prompting the curious scientists to head straight down to the cold storage unit to inspect the anomalies themselves, where they find a massive frozen phoenix towering over a creepy army of perfectly preserved ice soldiers, only for the old man to make a chilling discovery when he realizes one of the statues is completely hollow, leading him to suspect that these frozen shells were actually the original hosts for the ancient centipedes. But when he turns to ask his assistant for her thoughts, she stands there in a silent, terrifying daze. This lab assistant trembles in terror as he stares at the chilling anomalies inside the cold storage unit, remembering the horrific moment when an entire squad was instantly frozen solid by a sudden icy blast. Meanwhile, Mu Shen decides to calm his pre-quest anxiety by stuffing his face with delicious street food, only to be interrupted by a cheerful girl who recognizes him from his legendary gaming days. She introduces herself as Luo Jiusi, reminding him of a tournament where he casually carried her to victory, though our hero has absolutely no memory of her or the midnight snack she claims they shared. Sitting down anyway, she happily chugs her drink and asks if he plays on the local server, looking visibly disappointed when he plays dumb because she wanted to invite him to a secret raid, but his ears instantly perk up the moment she mentions finding a hidden map entrance nearby, prompting him to correctly guess she is talking about the legendary Qing Emperor's secret realm. Mu Shen checks the online forums and discovers that players in Qingjiang have unlocked a massive new hidden dungeon, prompting him to coordinate a morning raid with his guildmates, though one slacker complains about waking up too early, which earns him an instant, hilarious kick from the group chat for prioritizing party girls over the grind. This next morning, the squad gathers in the snowy streets of Winter City to prepare for their journey, with the red-haired warrior eagerly showing off his flashy new hidden swordsman class and a glowing weapon. while their female ally proudly reveals her transformation into a high-tier Doctor of Light to keep them alive. Meanwhile, their blonde companion admits he is still struggling to choose his path, prompting Mu Shen to watch silently. Elsewhere, rival guild leaders plot to consolidate their power before Winter City's forces can completely dominate the region, as our heroes finally arrive at the massive, glowing teleportation tower to make their move, only to be greeted by a cheerful fairy NPC demanding a hefty fee of 50 gold per person. This fairy NPC warns the squad that massive player traffic has completely congested the route to Qingjiang City, but she quickly offers a VIP shortcut for a ridiculous price of 5,000 gold per person, prompting Mu Shen to casually volunteer his wealthy ally to foot the bill without a second thought. And within seconds, the squad successfully bypasses the massive queue to land right in the bustling city. They marvel at the beautiful scenery while realizing that rival guilds are already gathering for the secret realm, where Mu Shen spots the stubborn archer girl and inspects her highly dangerous, long-range sniper class, noting that while her class is a squishy mage's worst nightmare, he is definitely no ordinary mage, only for her to suddenly send him a friend request to fiercely remind him of their upcoming bet. Arriving at the swirling portal, Mu Shen recalls clearing this exact dungeon in his past life with a master, and confidently leads his small team straight into the massive blue vortex of the legendary ruins. This squad enters the secret realm only to find a colossal stone giant pinned by a massive sword, while Mu Shen explains the cultural lore of the region to his awestruck companions, revealing that this legendary giant was effortlessly defeated and turned to stone by a mysterious ancient god. Shaking off the shock, our hero calmly points toward the massive sword and orders everyone to move, though his cowardly red-haired ally immediately starts panicking about the extreme danger waiting at the peak. They cautiously make their way through the desolate, foggy ruins as the atmosphere grows increasingly tense, until the red-haired swordsman suddenly complains about getting hit on the head by an invisible force, prompting a wave of creepy, level 20 spectral monsters to materialize with complete immunity to normal attacks, leaving the terrified warrior to frantically dodge the transparent ghosts while his allies try to stay calm. But a sudden, painful slash confirms these spirits deal real damage, forcing them to find a solution fast. Mu Shen steps up and unleashes his powerful new talismans, sending a wave of blazing energy forward, creating a massive ring of fire to shield his squad from the endless horde of spectral enemies.